Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. I think we have a really good show. Um, Talking points tonight. African Americans. Where do they come from? I'm going to briefly introduce the guests as. Let me add the co-host. Let me add the host to the screen. Um, we have Chris and myself. We are part of we call BS Podcast News, where we try to bring awareness with talking points. Sometimes we do it through comical ways. Sometimes it's serious, but at the end of the day, we want people to take the information, not believe anything that we say or whatnot, but just to go and research what we are the information that we are putting out. So, with that being said, I'm going to introduce Mr. Rob and Mr. Taino and Mr. Eli as soon as we get everything popped up. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves actually, so you guys can do a much better introduction than I can. And this thing it keeps jumping people off, so I do apologize.
No worries. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start.
Whoever would like to go first.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Basically, I'm Rob. I'm from the Houston, Texas area. I know Dwanda because we share a Facebook group that I see her in from time to time, and the actual subject of the group is kind of about this conversation in a way, indirectly. But I spend a lot of time on that group and spend a lot of time researching subject matter. By trade, I'm a software developer. I'm a computer scientist by trade, and so I got into this kind of researching this information years ago, just out of curiosity, getting on social media, seeing these conversations. I came up in the era of Afrocentricity and kind of like we see in the I don't know if you want to call it the ruins of that, but the vestiges of it. Other conversations started coming about, and so that's where I got into it from. And I'm very excited to be on here. I appreciate the invite and excited to see what all the other panelists have to say. Pass the mic.
Cool.
Well, don't be in a hurry,
Whoever.
but can y'all hear me? This is Eli. I'm here. All right. Hey,
Okay.
well, if
I'm just
y'all
sending
can
out
hear me,
links.
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is Eli. Some of y'all that'll probably be here will already know me from the voice of Eli. I do have that channel still on YouTube. It's on pause. Been doing a lot, y'all. I'm all right. For those that did ask, I'm all right. I just got a lot going on. And I just bought a new home and I'm straightening a whole lot of things out and enjoying it right now. So, and peace to everybody. Good to be back.
Peace.
I think we may have lost Taino.
Oh, yeah, it looks like
I see him up there, but it says no connection on his side.
there he is. He came back. He got back in.
Yeah.
I think he hopped back in.
Yeah,
Oh, there
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
All right, there he is. Okay, I see it now. For a second, he dropped off. I sent the link. I'm sending the links out to YouTube, on YouTube, on Facebook as well. So, Taino, I just tagged you in it, and Robert, I tagged you in it as well. If you guys want to share it and put it on your page or anything like that, feel free
sure,
to.
sure, absolutely.
I see Taino, but I don't see him. Taino, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Okay, I'm not seeing. Oh, there you are. Okay. So, if you would like to give us a brief introduction.
We lost him.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. Mm.
It's like millions and millions of artifacts that they have still have hidden. The Vatican has them. They're sitting in the basement of museums in Mexico. Um, the library, what is it? The New York Library, or
Library of Congress.
that one too, in the basement. And when you look at old drawings or artifacts, they always show what you would call so-called black people or African American. I don't like that
Mm.
term African American. It's a misnomer. It's like it's two things that cancel itself out. You can't be two continents. But there
Mm.
are a lot of artifacts that things that we have posted where you go back to the link where you originally found it and it's no longer there. They have moved it. They are hiding the information now.
Mm.
Where you have to use a different search engine to try to retrieve the information. Google is no longer reliable as far as like ancestral artifacts. A lot of ancestral artifacts that we did share, that we did show, you can't really find them no more on the internet. You have to really dig. But if you go to like in the archives like Spain or Denmark or Mexico, they're there. But for some reason, if you're in the United States and you start trying to search,
Taino, can
yeah,
I interrupt you right quick? And
yeah.
D, I don't mean no harm. I need to pull way back, way back. Where are we right now? Because what I want where I'm at, because I you remember the question I was thinking in the
What you
backstage.
mean, Eli?
Because
Where we are?
um because we're getting to the question of whether or not we come from Africa, but I wanted to I just feel like anybody joining us could be a little lost
Yeah,
coming into where he was.
Yeah.
If they were joining us from the beginning, or not even just, if you came in on it, because I thought we was doing like intros, and then
Yeah.
I was maybe kick it back to Dewana to define for us where we are tonight. Like where are we? Because I was thinking in the backstage, that question, he already started off with a point I think we might already agree on, that getting taught in the educational system as it is now, the public educational system, and what we're taught, we already know that we all agree that
Yeah.
that's inadequate.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna work. We all
mm,
agree on that point. And so yeah, before we got too far, I just wanted to kind of establish where we are so we can kind of walk together.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just actually just letting them build and talk from that point, and I was going to segue into the question about where we come from, and because I actually have a question for Rob. I know he's probably like the only, if it's loosely to say, okay, Pan African. I hope I'm saying that, if that's okay to say, or pro African. Correct me if I'm not right on saying that, but
I'm
I
okay
know
with
we've
it.
had engagement.
Yeah. I'm okay with
Okay,
you.
okay.
Yeah.
I know
Um,
we've had engagements inside the group. So I think, as Tayona was saying, a lot of stuff has been mistranslated, misinformation, disinformation, all on purpose. So I guess what I really want to do is ask Rob a question. When we're posting things in, I'm gonna say me, when I've posted some stuff in there, and I've gotten some slack, like mainly like, why do they keep saying that, we're not American Indians? We're not trying to be Native Americans, because we're not trying to claim that identity at all. We're
right.
saying that in addition to whatever they got going on, we had stuff going on. There was people here with stuff going on prior to that. So
Right.
why is it such a huge problem, or issue for a lot of those guys in the group that say, well, y'all are not African, y'all African Americans? Like, they're just adamant about who we are, instead of taking the information that we've given them and say, well, you know what, if that's what you say you are, I believe you, so forth and so on, or whatever have you. So why is that such a huge issue for a lot of those guys in that group? I know you can't speak for everybody, but I'm
Right.
asking for you. Why do you feel that way?
Right. Yeah. I'll speak for myself. So I'm gonna say, well, first let me clarify. When people use this term Pan African, I think they use it wrongly. Pan Africanism is a socio-political ideology, right? It's just about people who
Hmm.
Malcolm X, Kwame Nkrumah, who thought that people of African descent could get together and build, across diasporas, right? It ain't got nothing to do with, whether you believe in the out of Africa theory or any of that stuff. People always tend to conflate that, right? Uh, for me personally, though, in my investigation into the subject matter, uh, I approached it. I just basically decided to just clear my mind of everything I thought I knew or believed or was taught, and start from square one to build up to how we got to this place, right? Of saying, well, I encountered on a couple years ago on social media, my brothers and sisters I consider, who believe firmly that they are the represent the indigenous population of this land. And so I was like, okay, well, can you point me towards some information like to solidify that, right? And so I started looking for myself, and so I learned a whole lot in that process of, of trying to understand this inquiry. So for me, when someone says to me they're an American Indian, if you saying you're an American Indian because you have ancestors who were indigenous people, I will never dispute that. That's not my place to dispute anybody's ancestors, to say that's where your ancestors are. If you tell me, though, that so-called Black Americans represent the indigenous population of the Americas, then that's where I have issues with that, because, well, first and foremost, we are a mixture of people. Okay, that's the first thing, and that was just by way of colonization. The second thing is we have documented tribes, languages, cultures.
So so,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Uh-oh, I hope she come back real quick. While she comes back, did you want to chime in?
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. There she is. Okay.
But I do have I want to interrupt and ask you a quick
Yeah.
question. So are you under have some type of
Oh man.
Ah,
and this and that and all these other
I lost the first part. What you said.
yeah, she keep going in and out. I don't think she
Yeah.
realized it.
Okay. Let's see. I'll message her. Let her know she's dropping in and out.
Yeah, and I'm doing this on my phone. I can't type all that stuff y'all typing.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You were dropping in and out. Oh
Ah,
goodness.
she might need to do it from a phone.
Yeah, she may need to switch over.
Okay. Yeah, Rob, I will engage, but I'm gonna wait. I think since she's already started, but I'll engage with some questions because I am elementary to the topic. But we'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, she looks like she's working to get back on. I'll just finish off my statement while she's working me back on. So,
Okay.
uh, what I was saying was, so when you tell me that you represent, if a brother and sister tells me that they represent indigenous population of this land, then there's a lot of questions to be answered, for that statement. You know what I mean? Simply because understanding historically colonization, how people have moved about in this land,
Hmm.
essentially you're saying that there are some people who are here that were basically undocumented and stayed under the radar until they did everything else they did, and then all of a sudden now this group of people who were not a part of any other colonial activities are saying that we were here from the beginning. You
Is
good, Wonder?
is she okay, Chris? Do you think that she would want us to go ahead and engage until she fixes it? I don't want to. I want
Yeah,
to make sure her stream is filled with some engagement on the topic.
yeah. I don't think she would mind if we go ahead and engage.
Okay. All right. So like I said, being elementary to the topic and having looked at it, my view has definitely evolved. And so I would say, well, Rob, with my question would be these individuals that are claiming to be indigenous, by as in the only population.
Hmm.
I guess we have to get into a question of time, and I was going to
Yes,
start off like this: time, archaeology, and we also have to get into the geography, obviously, of it because we're
absolutely.
talking about are we talking about west side of North America? We're talking about
Right.
central. We're talking about East Coast. Because I can this topic. First off, let me say this: it has a great potential to divide because I want us. So I
Yes.
want let's move the emotions and let's just deal with some critical thought here and
Hmm.
some information. Let's deal with that.
Yes.
Because I when I went into the topic, it was DNA can be something you think you understand
Oh yeah.
until you really start looking at it. It
Oh yeah.
was I at least found that interesting. So my question is, I'm sorry, my question is, what are those that you have engaged with that are claiming to be indigenous? What is their actual claim? Was there nobody here and they were the only, or what is let's still man that.
Right. And the interesting part of that conversation is typically people who make this claim, they've never indicated an origin other than we've always been here. We've always been here, which is very problematic from the standpoint of colonization understanding archaeology, understanding anthropology, understanding uh, those disciplines. That's a problem. That's a problematic statement. And yeah, go ahead.
Because what I'm thinking is it the claim that are you saying that we only melanated there was a melanated presence only took place after colonization or at the
Oh,
point of
no,
colonization,
yeah,
or are you saying something more? Because remember before backstage what I was saying was there's so many little fine nuances to this that I think we should be careful to explore.
absolutely, absolutely. I think typically what I tend to hear is people say that they've always been here. America is the old world, and that America is the place where all humans originated from.
I would
Okay.
like to. I would like to actually get. I would actually like to hear Taino's because he have a lot of information on his YouTube page,
Hmm.
his videos, and I think he can actually also give us a lot of information on what you just asked Eli. Like, were we always here? Was his presence in the Americas at before Columbus, before the so-called Native Americans, and things of that nature? But I would really, really like to hear what he has to say because I've watched a lot of it. I watched his videos, and he has some really, really good information. So can you kind of talk about a little bit about the presence pre-Columbia?
So, from what I've read from my research, it has always been documented that the nine ether beings was everywhere. And I'm talking about before the Outer Africa theory was even created. It is documented that the people that you call black or whatever you want to call African descent, any of those labels that was given to us were everywhere. There's evidence of the statues, evidence of the buildings, monuments, murals. Like you could go down the list. The reason why people have this mindset that the Americas was empty, barren land, and the original people of this land were of the Mongolian stock was because of indoctrination. But when you look at the evidence of everything, the artifacts and everything which cannot be disputed, it tells a different story. When you read firsthand documents and things of first contact, it tells you, and they clearly tell you that these people was of a Negroid stock, or they would just say straight Negro. They would say labels like Negro de Terra. They would say other things like Negro or Loros. And this is documented. And the reason why people dispute this stuff, because like I said, we've went through a ethnocide stage of history. And to ethnicize, to target a specific group or phenotype of people and to eliminate their character from the land they are from. And this happened worldwide. The first contact in Africa, first contact where they met nine ether beings all around the world. They have done this too. They have found some way to put a label calling them sinners, or they say they are savages. People who have been here for eons, and it's very disrespectful for a colonizer who still can't tell you the origins to come and define minds. If you ask them where do you originate from, they never have an answer. And believe it or not, the South Africa theory was their attempt to find their origins. If they come from monkeys, that's their problem. I don't come from monkeys. That's the story they created. There are no African co-signed that story. There was no African or anyone of melanation co-signed none of these stories that was given to us. These are the people who invaded us. If you ask a child, hey, what's the complexion of your skin? A child would tell you brown, but because some of us as adults are so indoctrinated, no, your skin is black. So
Mm.
think for yourselves. Stop letting other people set the stage for you to think off of their misinformation. They
Mm.
have they have created so many labels for us to sit there and choose from. First we Nagas, so we try to run with that, try to make something positive or something negative they created for us. We come from greatness. We're not no slavery, and I want a lot of people to stop thinking that our beginning is slavery. How can our beginning be slavery when our ancestors built pyramids around this world? There's nowhere in this world where melanated people touch down that they are not pyramids or great cities that they built. And there's no one that can refute that. And the thing about it is the stories of who we are. And like I said, we are great people all the way around the world. Africa has great civilizations. They try to make Africans look like hunter gatherers, like they had no greatness. They try to make the people in Southeast Asia look like they were hunter gatherers, like they had no type of greatness whatsoever. They got here to try to make the original people of Turtle Island, the Americas, look like the ancestors were hunter gatherers. Everywhere they go, they try to demean you. They try to make you look less than. I don't even want to use the word human, because I know the original meaning of the word human, and it's nothing as what we thought. And I try to remind people that we come from greatness. The only reason why we think we don't come from greatness, some of us, because we've been programmed with so much lies. There are a lot of people who just can't shake it loose. They can't get past the indoctrination. They're stuck. Awakening isn't for everyone. There's some people who are going to stay asleep.
Mhm.
There's some family members who are going to go against you.
Uh-huh.
And you try to go against the grain. So now you already got a riffraff within family. So
I'd
even
like
some of us,
to jump in real quick, Taino. And first, I'm going to say I agree with your last statement that there is a lot of indoctrination. And absolutely, the education system was designed to create a narrative that exalts the Western world as the greatest example of civilization. There's a couple things I'd like to address, though, which really kind of intersects with what you said. You said they gave us these terms, they gave us these labels. So I feel like you got to deconstruct all of that to really understand the true story of who anybody is, right? But that's going to be kind of complicated in a place like the United States, because it's a melting pot. They brought a lot of people here that they all kind of mixed in together. I don't know scientifically what a nine ether being is, but also a Negro is not scientific. A melanated is not scientific. These are just you're just describing dark skinned people, right? But we know for a fact that dark skinned people exist everywhere around the world and are not necessarily closely related to one another. So I think really when you try to understand what you said about everywhere you look, you saw nine ether beings. I think what you're really saying is, and you can correct me when I'm wrong, is everywhere you looked back in more ancient times, you saw people who looked more Negroid, right? Uh, that's a very complicated story to unpack, right? From a historical point of view, from humanity. Uh, but what I'm going to say is that it would be very dangerous for us to take the westernized concept and group everybody based on looking alike. And I'm sure you will agree with me on that. We can't just group everybody because they look alike and say, "Oh, y'all must be closely related." That's actually not how humanity works. Humanity works because we live on a gradient. Our planet is a gradient, and our species is adaptable to whatever environment you need to go survive in. So anywhere anywhere close to the equator or below the equator, you're gonna get people with brown skin. You're gonna get people who are who tend towards being shorter. You're gonna get people with wider noses. And you might have people, depending on the environment. If it's tropical, they might have frizzy hair. If you go the further you go up north, you're gonna see people lighter. You're gonna see people with more aquiline noses. You're gonna see people with features that work in environments where there's less sunlight. So I think that we have to unpack. See, race is a construct. Negro is a construct. What we're looking at is people all around the world who might make. I'll just use. Uh, Papua New Guineans and Black Americans as an example. We resemble a whole lot alike. You know, some people might mistake us for the same people, but we're not. And in fact, in terms of the human family, we actually exist on two opposite sides of the spectrum. We're not very close related to them, but what we have in common is apparently we share tropical features that work in tropical environments, like frizzy hair and dark skin. So this problematic, this word melanated, Negro, all this problematic to me, because I know scientifically, just because people look alike, because they have similar adaptations, they're not the same people. And that's the thing that I don't like about what the Western world did, is they tried to just group everybody together.
Yeah.
I have something I just want to say right quickly. The term African American, we all know that didn't come into play until the 90s, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So, but prior to that, we were not going by the term African American, and it just kind of blows my mind that we jump on the board whenever the government just feel like changing something for us, and we don't stand up and say anything to them or for ourselves. But I just don't quite understand how we just buy into the term African American when we were not even using that term prior to the 1990s. So how is it now that we are now labeled African Americans, that we come from two places, from two continents? How is that even possible? I hear a lot of people, some people say, well, due to the mitochondrial Eve gene, which stems from Africa, from the African woman, they make all the races. So if by that logic, wouldn't everybody be considered an African American?
Right. It's based in bias and racism. It's based in a racist bias ideology. That's why. That's why only dark-skinned people are the word African is attached to dark-skinned folks, while the lighter people that they claim came after, if we were the first and they came after, so the term should apply to them. But it is created for that reason, to target only dark-skinned people, to put them in a bubble. Because you never hear them say like other places, like say I'll pick a place. I'll say like China. China still has, or Southeast Asia, they still have the original Negrito people that was always there before the lighter skinned ones or whoever came about. But for some reason, they would be tagged with the term of African descent, but the other people who are lighter will not be.
You have some examples of that, some sources of that happening?
Just look at it. Everyone that
see some sources on that one.
Everyone that's dark skinned, like say the Solomon Islands. Whenever you look at a broadcast about certain dark skinned tribes, no matter where you go, they always say when they left Africa such and such 1,000 years ago. How do they know? But these same exact people will tell you, hey, our origin story says we were always here. But here they go, the Johnny come ladies, go and tell these people, oh, your people came in 50,000 years ago or 60,000 years ago. And these people are looking at them like what are they talking about? You know, they're looking at, I saw, where was it? Well, yeah, it was a Solomon Island. The guy is looking confused. Like when they translate, he's looking like, they look at each other like, what the hell are these white folks talking about? Now,
Well,
it's very disrespectful to go to someone whose tribe has been there for eons, and you go and you think you have the right to tell them how long you think they've been there.
yeah, I agree with that statement. But what I also say is that scientifically, we know that the people in the Solomon Islands are not they're not closely related to Africans. They are more closely related to Asians and Melanesians and Australoids. So if people like if just regular everyday people try to call them Africans, that's just their ignorance. They don't know any better. That's just because they're operating with the construct, the westernized construct that's been in place for a long time, right? But scientifically, we know that Melanesians and Australoids are not very closely related to Africans. We exist on the opposite end of the spectrum. But I want to bring it back to the African American term, African American, which really to me is a political term, right? That was something that people say Jesse Jackson invented it. He really didn't. You can go back and see the term in use as early as 1700s. But what I will say about it was what I recall is that the term came into use because basically black people were saying that you want us to be Americans, but you treat us as second hand citizens, and so we're hyphenating ourselves uh, to highlight the difference in treatment, and it really was not a term. It was not meant as a term to isolate us. Our isolation happened a long time ago. None of these terms have any power to isolate us. We've already been isolated.
Question, Rob.
Mhm.
Want to interject? Want to ask a question right quick. Now you
Mhm.
said something. I was actually going to bring up later, whenever the time permitted. You said that that term African American has been around since the like late 1700s or early in the
It
1700
was
era
been
in
in
that
use. Yeah,
period.
yeah, it's been in use.
So my question is that why was it not ever on the U.S. Census? If they knew that we came from Africa, that all of us was brought over here from Africa, and there was nobody over here other than the so-called Native Americans, right?
Right.
They knew that. How come that was not even on the census
Okay.
up
Well,
until like 200 plus years later?
right. Well, I think first and foremost, it's important to highlight that that blacks were not on the census until 1875. That we weren't counted on the census. You know. So and then I think it was much later when Native Americans were included on the census. Uh, so why they didn't say that we were Africans? I mean, they haven't been calling us Africans. They've been calling us Negro American Negroes. They recognize that we have African descendancy, but I don't know why they would call it us Africans anymore. They would call themselves European on the census.
But they're calling us Africans. We're being labeled African Americans
Now,
now, as
but that's
opposed
because
to
a term that people in the black community push for. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean,
no.
it
I don't think we push for that because I remember when I remember when it first started being coming into play around the 1990s.
uh-huh.
I grew up in New York and we was dead set against that. Growing up in New York, Africans they didn't mess with us. They didn't socialize with us. Like I didn't see them in my schools. Nothing. They didn't socialize with us at all. So
Yeah,
even if
that's
they knew that we were African Americans or Africans or part
right,
African,
right.
they should have. Why has that not been said or been known? Or why wait until the 1990s to push that agenda?
Well, I don't think it's. I don't think. Okay, let me go back. We
Okay.
cannot we have to we can't conflate like social like our we can't conflate our social experiences with political stuff, right? Like that's not really an argument whether or not we were called African Americans or not, or whether Africans mess with us or not, right? That doesn't really change anything in reality other than our own how we deal with each other socially. Politically, though, why is African American there? Because there were people in the community who pushed for it. Whether you agree with the term or not, I mean that's not an argument for or against whether or not we actually have African descendancy. That's just a political term it was pushed for a reason.
Right.
And,
That's what I'm saying. It was pushed. It was pushed.
it was
That
pushed for
agenda
it
was
was
pushed
yeah it was pushed
for,
for
for a
by
particular
certain segments of
reason.
the black community. Yeah, it wasn't pushed for by white people. They don't really care what they call us. They just want us to stop. They just want us to
That
stop bugging them. That's all.
my thing is like we didn't ask them to give us that name. We didn't ask them for that name, none whatsoever. It's like we were told you guys are now African Americans. Like
There
Morgan Freeman
was
said on
actually, there
the
was
show, he said I
actually,
woke up one day and I was African American. He's like
yeah,
I'm not African. I'm an
yeah. There was
American.
actually a segment of the black
A
community
whole tribe.
that pushed for that. Yeah, they pushed for that. I mean, it wasn't anything orchestrated by white people.
So they didn't
But
even
you know
bother asking
what?
the people. They just
They
You
told
don't.
know
us.
what?
They don't care.
Can I say that it may be irrelevant because I think that we can agree no matter whenever something like that does change, especially in the political arena, that we have some bald Negroes. And so whether there was a group or whatever that what we are saying, because I agree with Dewana, as I remember this growing up, what we are saying is that there were some of us out here who didn't co-sign to that.
Yeah, yeah.
That point blank period.
I remember
And
the conversation.
remember the time. So and just how when anything happens now, those empowered may be doing what they're doing, but they still don't speak. I'm gonna say for the majority of us that are in the mud. I don't know
Right,
how else to say it, you know.
right.
But yeah, being back here, Dewana, I had texted a question to Dewana because I wanna, get down to where the rubber meets the road on this thing.
Okay, sure. So what Eli was asked, well, before we get there, Eli, I just this comment that's up that I have up now, Rob. I would like for you to address that though.
Sure. All right. So this guy Indigo Flamethrower is saying that they're telling their story about being indigenous to America, and I'm joining racist Mexicans and Spaniards who call them derogatory names and laughing. I'm not joining no racist calling anybody anything. Most time, I got brothers and sisters who are angry at me about bringing the scientific perspective, and so because I bring the scientific perspective, that conflicts with a narrative, or they think that it's conflicting with the narrative they want to believe. They say that I'm co-signing racist or I'm being indoctrinated. So it's an emotional response to me challenging people about from what they say, and so they view my challenge as I'm in allying with Mexican Spaniards who are saying racist things, and I've many times I'm a moderator of the forum. Of the forum that he's talking about, I've banned many racists from the forum.
Yeah, but I understand why he would say that. Because there are a lot of people who are Pan-Africans that co-sign it. We have seen it where they have co-signed with a lot of European natives saying the most hateful things towards us. And as much as we have brothers and sisters who are co-signing, claiming to be enlightened, this Black Power ideology and stuff, we have sit there and watch them firsthand co-sign the racism because they feel that we are ashamed of being African based on the theory of the color of skin, not because of what they actually know about our genealogy. You can't look at somebody and determine what their genealogy is or where they come from based on what you think they might look like. Because I don't see nobody co-signing or telling any of the European natives, and I call them European natives for a reason, not to be divisive, not trying to, I'm just calling it as it is. I don't see no one really throwing the book at them and saying, hey, you look more German than you look native. But when it comes to us, people that look like us, they tend to go in. And a lot of them are very miseducated, and there are others who are willing to listen, willing to learn, and there are others, they don't care not one bit about it. And for us that don't want to use the label African American, it's because we know in law it's you're dead. It's not identity, it's not a nationality. You're dead in law. You just don't exist. You can't go to United Nations or any other place with the label African American and think you're gonna get reparations. You can't go nowhere with the label African American and think that you're gonna get any type of compensation for whatever wrongdoing might have been done to you. We have to understand that the term African American was given to us, created, and co-signed by some Boule members. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but those people who said, hey, yeah, we're going to go with this term, they never asked the majority of the public for their opinion or their insight or a vote. This is why it's important for you to choose. I can't even say choose your own leaders, because a lot of these people who are handpicked by the same people within the system that are screwing us over. You know, you can't call yourself a so-called leader of the community and you sit in the same lodge with the same bigot judge and Klansman.
Let me. I want to chime in real quick on some things you said. I disagree that any term puts us at a disadvantage. I disagree because our nationality is American. That's this is where we're born. This is our country of birth, right? You can call. I mean, you can call yourself Italian American. You can call yourself Chinese American. Labels don't get you reparations. Labels don't. Labels. Labels don't get you. Oh, so there's a playback. I think somebody's playing it back. Somebody's replaying it back or something like that. Oh, is that it's Mike? It's Michael Hampton. Yeah. So I was just going to say that. Yeah, I disagree. I disagree that legally that term has any power or to reject or gain us any benefits. I disagree with it. This is Mike. Is he behind? I think he's on the live and also joining. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, legally the term it gives us no power. We lose no power with the term. I just disagree with that. If you're gonna get reparations, you're gonna get reparations based on something, someone, some ancestors you can identify that were wronged and need to be recompensated in some kind of way. I don't think that label does has any power to deny you or gain you anything. I disagree with that. But also, what I want to say is, I feel like we are taking social arguments and we're mixing them in with like scientific historical discussions, and I don't think that they necessarily have a correlation. Uh, Whether you want to agree that you are descendant of Africans or not, uh, if you want reparations, then you're going to have to identify. Yeah, this, okay, Mike, yeah, we hear you. If you want reparations, just like any other group that's ever gotten reparations, you're gonna have to identify yourself with as an ancestor of some group that was disadvantaged in some kind of way, and they need to be compensated. I mean, that's just how it works, you know. In terms of whether we call us, in terms of, and somebody put it there in the chat earlier about African American. That's a new term. It was pushed by some in the black community. It doesn't bother me either way because I feel like labels are not going to gain us power. It's not going to lose us power. I don't think it's going to gain us power. Is we got to organize. We got to unite. That's it. You know. But I think the problem here, and I can tell you because I'm the mod of this group, is that we are arguing about terms because we think that some term identifying one way or another is going to gain us or lose us something. And I totally disagree.
Yeah, that term African American is it's going to lose more than gain. It's just a misnomer term. Yeah, we hear you.
This is what I'm going to say real quick, because a lot of people think that when I say that, yeah, we can hear you, Mike. A lot of people think that when I say that we are African descendants, that means that I'm in some kind of ideological position, and I'm really not. All I'm talking about is facts based on my research, right? But what I the main point I want to make here in this discussion is that we have to, if we want to talk about the social aspects of being African American or whatever, we can talk about that. If we want to talk about the historical and the science, those things should be separate, just separate conversations. We can't be golden into this position of, and that's why we have these extreme views of one another.
Well, I'm going to disagree on that. The reason why, because you got to know your origins of who you are.
Okay.
You got to know your origins of who you are individually are.
Okay.
'Cause I see people come and speak for the majority of people they have never met, and a lot of them don't seem to know who they are. And I'm not saying it's their fault, but we're in the age of information. And if you want to find out who you are, you can. And there are some who just refuse to do that. They're more comfortable in their thought process. One thing I don't want is for someone to sit in front of a group of strangers that don't know anything about me, my background, my family history, to sit there and tell everyone, well, we don't know where we come from. That's the problem. A person that don't know where they come from can't speak for me. And you should not feel like they have the right to speak for the majority of people who are waking up, finding out their genealogy, find out their individual, path or lineage or where they come from. It's very important to know where you come from, so you know where you go, what's the next move. But if you say you know that, hey, your ancestors had this plot of land, but for some reason this company or corporation stole the land. And what if you didn't know that and you just let it go? There are many people who are suing and winning and getting back their ancestral land because they did the work, they did the research, and they found out things that they did not know. If they did not do the research or legwork, a lot of them would not be getting the land back. They wouldn't be getting the land rights. And land is wealth. So it is important to know where you come from, because if you know where you come from, then you know not to take the label African American. You know that, hey, that's not me.
I don't think that label will, if you have ancestors who own land, that label will not prevent you from rightfully getting the land that your ancestors had.
Yeah, but that label would not be used by anyone that knows, hey, this is who I am. I refuse to use that label. I don't know how many people are comfortable with using the label, but me personally, they can have it back. I don't need it. I don't want to. I would never go forward and tell someone I'm African American. Like when I was a little kid, that term was not around. I remember it coming around probably like 91, 92, maybe sticking about 93, 94. And I remember seeing and how they pushed it was they got it through political activists and these stuff like that. Then you start seeing it on movies where they start wearing the African pendant, like House Party. You start seeing it on shows like Martin, School Days, like different shows. This is how they got us into the mindset. This is how they program us. So a lot of people who say, hey, my people from here, don't call me that term, they tend to be shamed by the so-called black community. Like, you're ashamed of being this. And like I said, a lot of people that don't know who they are, I think they're doing it out of ignorance, but some are doing it out of ignorance and frustration because they're like, okay, well, damn, this person know who they are, or they claim to know who they are, and I don't even have a clue who I am. And I think a lot of them lash out at that, and they try to use that as, hey, and they try to, in turn, invalidate you. And I think it's very important for us. It's a dangerous term. African American, it's really a dangerous term. It's like you're dead. And in the eyes of the law, you're dead.
Yeah,
That's the
I disagree. I disagree with that. That my brother's attorney, that having an African American is not going to win you or lose you any court case. It's just not true.
yeah, but I don't
Um,
think that anyone should use a term of no one wants to. I know a lot of people who are not comfortable with that term. I'm not comfortable with using it. I know a lot of people who are not comfortable with using it. I know a lot of people who are not going to use it because it was a made up term. And me personally, I don't feel like sitting back and keep waiting every decade or 3, 4 decades for a new identity for someone to create for me. Me
Well,
personally,
this is what I'm going to say. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not. I wouldn't waste my time fighting over a term. I really don't care about it. I mean, this is what I care about is, if we want to talk about, social activism, political activism, I'm not going to fight over terms. That's a waste of time, right? If we trying to move in the same direction, then let's do that. If you want to talk about my perspective on whether or not we African descendants, that's a different conversation, right? Because I can go back and I can see where Black Americans have self-documented themselves, and who they talked about where they came from. They organized from the very beginning. They didn't just get here and just accept anything that was given to them. That's the popular narrative. They organized from the very beginning. You can go back and read about it. You can go back and read about all these guys who created all of these societies for trying to uplift people who came out of slavery or even during slavery, who worked with abolitionists to get people out of bondage. So, I think you got to separate the political terms from the historical realities, and then you don't have to like. I mean, I don't. You don't have to like the term. I don't. It doesn't bother me, right? I'm not going to sit here and fight you about that.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to separate political
right.
terms from reality terms because it was the political terms that put us in the bind we're in today. If it wasn't for those political interferences, we wouldn't have been stripped of land, we wouldn't be stripped of humanity, we wouldn't be stripped of identity. They just kept stripping and taking away. So political, you can't separate the two. Remember, it was the political terminology, political everything that made us systematically slaves. Remember that word, political.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it cannot be separated.
It was laws. It was laws that made people slaves, right?
Which is politics.
Yeah, it was politics, but I mean, they go hand in hand to a point. But it was laws who made people slaves, and whatever the people themselves called themselves, it really didn't. The laws didn't matter because the laws were made by people in power. So you couldn't just say I reject your term, therefore I don't, therefore your laws don't apply to me. That's not how it works.
But those laws only applied when they decided to buy into the system.
No,
So
no, oh no.
before those laws,
Let me give you some examples.
we were outside of that. We were outside of their kingdom, outside of their realm. So those laws wasn't even applicable to them
Let
at that space and time and reality. And
me
I
give you.
must agree with Tiana. We can't separate the political from the reality at the same time, or from the historicity of it at the same time, because as we all keep saying, and we know emphatically that we live this reality, that nobody was into that term as African American. Nobody was into that term. Like I
Okay.
remember picking on other people. Like, we had around the corner, like from our church on 125th Street, there was
Mhm.
an African Mart. So we would pick on them, like call them African booty scratchers and all of that stuff. But because we did not want to be associated with Africans
Okay.
at all. Not,
Okay.
not to be, mean or nasty, anything like that, but it's just
Mhm.
a culture and a group of people that we have no connection to. I have no
Okay.
connection to that land. My connection is to this land. This is
Okay.
where I'm from. This is where I'm, my great grandmother. We're 5, 6 generations in of
Mhm.
being Blackfoot Indians. So I don't care what the government will ever label me. I'm gonna go with what my people have already told me since I was little. I'm going to go back to what's his face comment, Bella, I think his name is Bella Boots. He was saying that nobody was saying that they was Indian back then either, but that's not necessarily true. It was really kept quiet. I've heard all my life that we had Indian in our family. I never once ever heard that I had African lineage or descent or bloodline in my family. None whatsoever. That was not a topic. Always heard Yeah, we got India in our family. Never heard about Africans being in my family, and I think that's true for the most part of all of us in America, the brown folks in America.
Right. So
I'm
I
gonna
kind
add. I'm gonna add people back to the scene. Rob and
yeah.
Taino. I don't know where Chris went at, but I added Eli
Cool.
back. We had some other people that was on.
Let's go.
I'm trying to find them, which I'm not. Oh, here you go, Michael. I want to introduce Michael, and we have. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Olusegun. I'm butchering that up, and I'm so sorry. Can everybody hear?
I hear
No, good
you.
check. So,
Yeah.
Michael, would you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'm sorry, you're gonna have to say your name because I'm just messing that up.
Y'all make sure y'all not on mute.
Yeah, unmute. You guys can unmute
Hello?
the mic.
Can
Nobody
you hear
should be
me?
muted. I'm not.
I can hear you as a mic.
Um, I'm not.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I hear you just fine.
I
Whoever
hear
would like to go first, Michael, or well, I'll do
Hello,
Michael because he was supposed to
my
be
name's
part of the
Michael Hampton.
Yeah, we go. That's all you got for us? Okay, he's having connections. Oh, you can go ahead. I'm gonna just call you O for short until I know how to pronounce your name. Hello. You guys make sure you're not muted.
Yeah. I'm not
Taino,
muted.
Hello, can
Rob,
you hear me now?
Yeah,
you
we can
guys
hear
I'm
you.
hear?
here.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Mike, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear.
Michael, can you hear?
I'm getting echo. I have on what, too many things? I can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. Olson, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear. And when you guys come in, make sure you check. Make sure you check that your mic give access to the microphone. So you might want to take your earphones out. I'm not sure because we're not picking up any audio from you. O. Um, so Taino, I had Eli had wanted me to ask a question earlier. He said, "Do you think that?" I'll let him ask. Eli, you ask.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you.
All right. So I guess at this point,
Okay.
the question would be for Taino and Rob on where do y'all stand as, and I use the term operatively, however you want to take it, anthropomorphically, whatever, black people, Negroes, melanated. Where do you two stand on whether or not there has always been or
So
only
Taino, I had
been a
Eli
melanated
had
presence
wanted me to ask a
here
question
in
earlier.
North America? Can y'all hear me through that? Did
Yeah,
y'all hear me
yeah,
through
I
that?
heard.
Yeah, hold on, Eli. Eli, hold on one second. Mike, I need you to, if you close out your YouTube or whatever you listening the stream on because we're getting the feedback and it's interrupting the stream. So Mike, make sure you close out whatever you got going on. And I don't know if you can hear us or not, but we see you. We just don't know you can hear us because you're not saying anything. So we need to make sure that you can hear us. I need you to verbalize that you can hear us. I'm gonna take that as a no. Eli, go ahead.
Well, yeah, just to make sure I'm clear, for Rob and for Taino, it's about where do you all stand on whether or not there has always been, and maybe if y'all could take like 2 minutes each and just kind of really break it down. Have we always been here? Did we get here after colonization? How far do you want to go back? And when I say how far you want to go back, y'all, I'm here with you. Whether you want to take it to Pangea, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah. Well, how far we want to go? Let's talk. But where do the two of you stand on the black presence, just so you be operative here, melanated people in this land that we call North America. When did we get here?
It's a good
Who
question.
go first? You go first, Rob, or me?
It's up to, if you want me to go first, I will. So when you look at the history of the Americas, uh, anthropologically, you see a pattern. Okay, and so the pattern that anthropologists have noticed is that some of the more ancient skulls are what you call dotacephalic, long-headed. Okay, and then as time goes on, they notice that the skulls got rounder. Okay, what we know based on the information they've collected is that the most ancient skeletons don't exist here. Okay, I'm not saying that there weren't any. I'm just saying they don't exist here. All right, and so based on the current scientists, this is what science is saying. This ain't what I'm saying. It's just how I understand the science. That the people who they say were here first were Paleo Americans. They say that they were people who uh, were in between Africans and Australoids and East Asians in terms of their skull morphology. So they were in between. So they were long headed, but not necessarily as long headed as Africans or as Australoids. But genetically, those people share a common ancestor with the people who we call Native Americans today. What you typically hear people talk about is, Mongols, we call them Mongoloids, so that a Mongoloid skull structure, which is what most Native Americans have, but not all. Not all Native Americans have a Mongoloid skull structure. That's a fallacy. There were Native Americans here when the Europeans came, like the Iroquois or Algonquin people, who had what you call a proto-Negroid or a proto-Australoid skull profile. And so I think that people have to understand that we have an archaeological record, right? Or at least what science presents to us. And they're saying that the most ancient people were not here, but the most ancient people to be here were Paleo Americans, and they're saying those people genetically come from Asia. And they're saying those people went extinct around 10,000, 11,000 years ago. Also, what they're saying is 10,000 years ago in the archaeological record, you see in North America, going down to South America, skull diversity. What I mean by skull diversity is you're seeing people with more rounder skulls coming in around that time period. And so it appears to be, based on the archaeological record, that at least 10,000 years ago, there were people who were here who had some Australoid genetic connection. Those Paleo Americans, they're postulating that came with them as they traveled down from North America. And you have people with more dotacephalic skulls, more long skulls, and you have people with more round skulls. And so those people, that variance has been here for a long time. To whether or not they were melanated or not, that's a totally different question, right? But if you want to know how Paleo Americans looked, there was a group, they're kind of extinct now, called the Bodo Cuda Indians. And their skeletal morphology matches Paleo American morphology more than any other people. And they have a connection to South Pacific people.
I want to pause
Sorry.
right there. I want to play this one. I want to play this clip since we're talking about the Asians or the Mongolians or the Native Americans. Let me grab it right quick. Tayano, if you would like to respond, you can. But I want to stay right there in this vein.
All right. So
I got the video. So if you want to go ahead, you can. That's fine.
yeah. All right. So that is false. There have been ancient skeletons remains found here that date back to past 10,000. Lucia they said about 30,000 years. There's been a finding in South Carolina where a male skull was date back to close to 100,000 years. We, as a people, are not Native Americans. Whenever you use the term Native Americans, you are referencing to the migration of the Mongolian stock, not only by walking across, but also by ship. If you're familiar with Zheng He's fleet, Chinese fleet, they even had a map of the west coast of the Americas. The oldest skulls found here were of the Negro stock. Sometimes they might go by names of Clovis or pre-Clovis, but we're talking about antediluvian people. The original people of the Americas were not the what you call the stereotypical Native Americans. The original people that built the ancient castles from North all the way down to South America, that some of them they turned into cathedrals, many was turned into universities. And whenever you read about it, they talk about founded. Whenever a European, they always write on it, founded by such year and year. We're talking about, they might even say from Atlantean area or Tartaria. But the original people and the most ancient sculptures have always been found in the Americas. This is documented.
The original people. But what original people?
And the most ancient sculptures.
I just want to I want to clarify these statements, right? Because I'm going to speak on them. I want to clarify these statements. I didn't disagree with you on Paleo Americans. I didn't give a date to how long they've been here. I said they postulate that they went extinct around 10,000 years ago. They were not Negroes; they were Negroid. Those are two different terms. Negro is a social construct. Negroid is an anthropological term. They don't mean the same.
They're both constructs put towards a certain phenotype of people. So whenever I say the word Negro, they're going to associate it with Negroid. They're not going to say, oh, with Negro and Negroid is separate. They're going to affiliate both of them together. But the most ancient pyramids are found in the Americas. This is something that can't be disputed or refuted.
Right.
It's
I don't know what that has to do with who were the original people. It
does have to do with who were the original people, because in some of these pyramids and the murals, you can clearly see that those are Negroid people. The Bonampak mural.
Really? So the oldest mural in Mesoamerica, you're saying those are Negroid people?
That is a fact. Anyone that knows anything about the Bonampak murals, when you look at those pictures and drawings on the wall,
Bonampak murals are not the oldest. Those are not the oldest. Those are not the oldest murals. Those are of Mayans, and Mayans were not Negroid.
Well, the evidence is different, because on those murals in those pyramids and temples, the Bonampak murals, they do not show Mongoloid stock people. The faces are not Mongoloid.
Right. Yeah. Let's be clear on this. Let's work through that real quick. Somebody's got some music playing.
So somebody's music is on?
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute you. Okay.
Let's work through that real quick, Taino. So,
but wait. I need y'all to pause, because I wanted y'all to stay right there on that Mongolian Native American thing.
We're gonna stay right there.
I got the video that I want to play, because Rob was saying something that was very specific to this video, and if you guys, I'm just gonna
yes,
I want to play it right quick, and we're gonna pause, put a pin in there, Rob, because I want you to. I really, after this video, I want to see what you're gonna have to say about this.
I smell bullshit, don't know what to call it other than bullshit. Blows my mind, it blows my mind.
Everything we've been taught in the American education system is all a lie. Yes, Native Americans weren't the original people of this land. We actually took it from black people. We were so good at it that we just wiped out any trace of their language and their culture.
Join us live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. YouTube and Facebook. Promise you don't want to miss this.
They call black people who were born and raised
myself.
Mhm.
Based off that video, and I do understand that one person don't speak for the whole group, but there are multiple videos of, and that goes back for, I've seen videos that go back until maybe like the 70s ish, maybe them saying the same thing. Like, yeah, we know we're not the original inhabitants of North America. So we're just gonna stick to North America. They know that. They know they come from the Bering Strait. They know they come from over that area. So how can they be a native to this land when their lineage and blood ties go back to a whole different area? They
Right.
cannot be native to this area
Well,
and say they come from here.
we could, yeah. I mean, I guess in the same vein, you can say that. I guess in the same vein, you can say that Paleo Americans are native because they came from Asia. That's where their genetic line traced to.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I don't understand how we just allow them to say, hey, they're Native Americans when they're not native to this land at all. And I'm gonna go back to what I said before, if the mitochondrial Eve genes is the progenitor of all races, which stems from Africa only, then why are we the only ones labeled African Americans? Should not every human being be labeled an African American or African German or African whatever, because that is the progenitor of all races?
All right. Yeah. I want to clarify something on that Eve gene thing. That's people have been kind of throwing that out there, and I don't think they really understand what it means. Okay. So mitochondrial Eve is just one mitochondrial DNA, one person's DNA that they estimate is the mother of all living modern humans. Not the original woman, not the first woman, just the mother. And this is all just based on the current data. That can change. That can change tomorrow with more data. The estimated mother of all living humans. So even the people who push this narrative about Eve as the mother of all races, they don't even understand what it's saying. It's just saying that mitochondrial DNA line, every other living woman comes from that line. That's all they're really saying. It's not talking about.
Well, yeah. I wanna just make sure we solidify though that there are scholars. I do believe I've heard one as eminent as Richard Dawkins say what they are saying by mitochondrial Eve is that everybody living on Earth at this point can trace their mitochondrial DNA back to this one female living in Ethiopia approximately 200,000 years ago. Now that's a scientific claim.
That's a scientific claim.
Yeah, a claim.
So I think it's important to put that in perspective because that really has nothing to do with whether you believe in out of Africa theory or not, right? And it has nothing to do with races. It's just talking about genetic lineage. That's it. Because let me clarify quick on that.
Do we understand that? Because sometimes when people hear that, they think, okay, so it must be that. And what I've seen in looking at migration, and just in my little few days of looking at this, people that moved in so many different ways that don't mean that Eve, mitochondria Eve, that don't mean that she was always right there or that her people was right there. Her people could have came from somewhere else.
That's true.
But I'm just, like I said, I'm elementary to the topic, but I think we have to consider all of these cards.
Absolutely.
When we look at the topic as sensitive as this.
Absolutely. But we also have to be like, we having a discussion. I tell people all this all the time, like, you want me to make arguments with you, but we're not even speaking the same language, right? Like if you're coming to me telling me that mitochondrial Eve is the mother of all races, and I'm saying that's not the scientific term. So we already not operating on the same wavelength to really have a conducive conversation, right? And so
that's not me that's saying that. I
know that's not you. I know that's not.
That's what put out.
Yeah, but I also think that's a good place to solidify some ideas that some misconceptions that people have. Because when you talk about genetics, you're talking about when we talk about genetics in terms of mitochondrial Eve, we're talking about lineage. We're not talking about looks. We're not talking about
Right.
phenotype. We're talking about just pure genetics. And also to piggyback off of that, it's possible that let me see if I can make a good illustration. Let's say that mitochondrial Eve was some dark-skinned Sudanese. I'm just making this up. All right, I ain't saying I believe that. Mitochondrial Eve has some white, light-skinned Asian children out there. You understand? So taking genetics and using it as a chain to try to prove how people look is a fallacy as well. That's the only point I want to make.
I was trying to get Michael in. Finally got it. He keeps having some issues going on. So Mike, can I get you to chime in on what you've been hearing so far? I know you've been having some little technical difficulties, but from what you were able to catch, give us a brief synopsis of what you think. Oh, that's my fault. I had him muted that time.
Uh-oh.
He's on.
He's on mute.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yeah, I hear something though.
No, keep losing connection. There we go. Mike, can you hear? Mike?
Some audio issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
How you all doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
Sounds good. Well, what I've heard so far that I see is
Got to be more careful.
and came from 1988 when I was about 20-some years old, and I never really paid it attention. Had a history. I was raised by my grandmother on my father's side, and as a child, she would about her childhood, and her grandmother raised her, and she always would say her grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee. I'm a child. I didn't know enough.
I really want to hear what he got to say. We got to get this brother some good service.
But I knew my grandmother wasn't lying.
Yeah.
But the term African American, I mean, I would use it if I actually was from Africa. But I don't do all that out of Africa theory. It makes no sense. And I know no human being comes from monkeys. That's just stupid. No ape or whatever you want to call those things evolved into what we call anatomical man. So, and I don't do the biblical thing either. But that's as far as I go. I heard some reparations, and I'll be quiet. And but I'm from the Cherokee Nation on my father's side, and Cherokee is a nation. It's not a tribe of people. You got Catawbas, you got a whole lot of ethnicities in that nation. And on my mother's side, I know that it's.
Oh man. We lost it, brother.
We lost him again.
That's where I stand. That's my.
Here we go. You cut out, Mike. You had cut out, Mike. So you just back up what you were saying for a few seconds. You cut out.
Yeah, something wrong with mine. I don't know what's going on. I mean, this computer is new, but I'm having some difficulty. It's pretty cold here in Chicago, and things act up.
All the migrants have got y'all 8. Never mind. I ain't gonna get on that subject. Go ahead.
About 8 degrees outside, so things been acting up. But I
just can't do it, boy. God, dog.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. That weather going on up there.
Man. I feel bad.
I've been to Chicago one time, and I do not.
It's almost
miss
70
it
degrees
at
here.
all.
Yeah.
Right, Eli? It was almost 70 degrees today here.
I'm chilling on my back porch right now. Like, I'm loving the weather right now.
Y'all chilling. We actually had snow down in Texas today in Houston. Way deep down. Yes.
Oh man.
No, they messing with that. They I don't know who controlling the weather, but they got that joint on shuffle, repeat, skip, fast forward, pause, everything.
But Michael said some things I want to touch on real quick. I think that we really have to be careful with these arguments that we're making, because we're talking like time in people are constant, like what Eli said, and it's not. Time and people are not a constant, right? So if we say that, like Michael said, his grandmother said that she or her grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian, right? Is that all of Michael's genetic lineage? You see what I'm saying? And so we have to first of all admit to ourselves that here in this colonial experience that nobody is a constant in terms of their
family affairs and cookouts and funerals.
Yeah.
All I know is American Negroes showed up. That's all I know.
Right.
Just never brought it up.
Right.
There's no hidden history. So
Right. So we can't act like it's a continuum when it's not, right? We are composed of many people. If your people have been here, you're composed of many different people, right? So that's the problem with that argument that I run into a lot that people are making. Now, phenotypes, somebody just said it, our phenotypes are different than Africans. What Africans are you talking about? Africa is a diverse continent with many different peoples. They're not all closely related. But the people who came here mostly were from West Africa, West and Central Africa, right? And so there are people in West and Central Africa who match some of us, right? But you can't act like you're comparing a constant, because once again, we are a people who have been mixed in with other bloodlines. So making those arguments is kind of asinine, really. You have to just understand the history and then argue from there. You can't argue from a point here, this is a constant, we don't look like Africans. Well, of course we don't. We don't look like all Africans. We don't look like, even maybe if some of us have African heritage, we don't look exactly like them, because we're people mixed of other people, right? And then the other thing he brought up was the out of Africa theory, which I don't think people really understand what it's saying, right? You don't even have to get into the arguments about if people came from ape-like creatures. What the out of Africa theory is really trying to communicate is trying to say, they're trying to identify a point in a place where anatomically modern humans arose from, right? And when I say anatomically modern humans, there were archaic humans like Neanderthals and Denisovans and other archaic humans that existed from Africa throughout Eurasia. What we're saying is, out of Africa saying is us, Homo sapien, that's the origin of anatomically modern humans. That's it. Africa is not the origin of all hominids or archaic humans. So you have to understand that argument before you even get into it. That's not a reason to say you don't have African descent because you don't believe in out of Africa theory. That doesn't change whether if you actually
just like I reject religion.
Well, you have a right to reject anything.
I understand it. I won't.
Yeah. Dang, I wish his connection was working.
Man.
You have a right to reject.
I really wanted to hear what he had to say
I
again.
don't think that we evolved from them, man. That's just everyone has a belief,
Yeah.
and it's not a fact, because the common ancestor between us, you melanated people, is us. I don't know about no hominids and all that.
Well, that's not true, actually, because
monkeys are still making monkeys and humans still making humans. So when did that evolution stop? When did it stop and say, okay, well, we're no longer going? I mean, like, are we basically saying that we evolved from monkeys? Is that?
I think that
I
think people have an ideological, an emotional objection to this conversation, because they immediately go to talking about monkeys, right? And that's not really evolution is not talking about monkeys, right? It's talking about something else. But I always just say, he said belief. I agree. I don't want to operate on belief. I want to operate on empirical data, right? Empirical data says that humanity has a common lineage, a common thread, but also we do see some interesting stuff. Just like when people were talking about Melanesians or Australoids, they got a lot of Denisovan heritage. Native Americans have a lot of Neanderthal heritage, even more than Europeans. So, but these are archaic hominids, right? So you can't say that they didn't exist, because they do. And every human being has archaic hominid genetics. You can't get away from it. So that's empirical data. It's not about belief.
Okay, so
let me chime in right
Well,
quick and say something because I have heard something in the wind in my again elementary looks into this that and just in contrast with what you just said
Yeah.
there a moment ago, Rob, that humans from from Africa, I'm really trying to be careful how they put this,
Hmm.
are the only 100% Homo sapiens. Those that are with what on the side of the tracks that you're on,
Yeah.
they say that everybody else has Neanderthal
Yeah.
DNA, but if you're a melanated person, and I think there are some implications
Right.
on being on that side of the fence of what you're saying, because just I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. I appreciate that. That's a good point. So, and that's a good point to tie into this term melanated. Why I think it's a very confusing term. And I'll explain to you why. You're right that they initially scientists were saying people out of Africa were the only 100% Homo sapiens because they didn't realize that Africans had archaic hominid DNA too. The reasons why they were saying it is because Europeans have Neanderthal and Asians have Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA, and they didn't identify the hominid DNA in African populations. Now they have. So that's the first point. The second point is uh, the oldest branch of humanity that currently exists, the Khoisan, the oldest existing branch. They're not the oldest people, right? But they are not very melanated people, right?
Well, who are these people again? And
Khoisan.
how when you say ancient, can you put an approximation on the timeline?
I can't put an approximation time. I don't think anybody.
Because I don't know about again
Sounds
elementary
very
looking into
pseudo.
this
Yeah,
because I'm hearing that the North Sentinelese they come to mind immediately. They exist, and we're talking about 40,000 years that the experts have put out for
yeah.
them.
That's easy numbers. 40,000 years because they're talking about Homo sapiens being as old as 200,000 years or more. So that
Well, first of
40,000
all,
years.
I just have a huge problem with these big ass gaps in timelines of tens and thirties and forties and fifties and 200,000 years ago.
right.
Because where are they getting this data, this information to say, yeah, we've tested,
I can
we've
tell
come to
you
this
some of
conclusion
that.
based on these
Yeah,
tests. What are they? What in the hell are they testing? There's no body. There's no physical
yeah.
blood, DNA, nothing to test. So where are they coming up with these asinine ass numbers?
Right.
Theory,
Well. No,
theory,
actually,
There you
so
go. Theory.
yeah, but it's
theory.
theory. It's theory, but what the current map of human genome is not theory. That's empirical data, right? Like we have the map of mitochondrial and Y-DNA for people from Africa all the way through to the Americas. That's empirical data. You can dispute it based on some ideological basis, but the reason why they know that the Khoisan are the oldest because they identified them as having one of the oldest branches of humanity, right? That nobody else has.
Based off what?
Based off of just taking the existing data and extrapolating and going backwards. That's
And
all.
where's this data that they're getting to extrapolate it from?
But,
Where's this data coming from? Is this coming from the Khoisan people
yeah,
themselves?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They get data from Khoisan.
That's very interesting. I see Taino want to chime in on this one, so I'm gonna let him have that.
Yeah.
Like you ready to go?
So the Out Africa theory, the theory of evolution, as far as Darwinism concerned, it was based off of pure racism. And out of his own words, he's saying that the European race were more progressive than the so-called black race. It had nothing to do with origin. It was a biased racist ideology that he created. Because I don't see how you take monkey bones
Hmm.
and tell me that humans, what you call humans, come from. Did y'all see the skeleton on the monkey bones? You got half a skull, got part of a pelvis. You probably got like a thumb and maybe a pinky toe. And y'all want me to believe that this bigot out of Africa tells our origin story.
All right, so okay, first things, Darwin did not create the theory of evolution. Darwin did not create none of the ideas that he's talking about. His ideas came from his peers, and he took them and what he added to the evolution, because they were already talking about it before Darwin came around, was adaptation by natural selection. Darwin didn't create evolution. He's just a poster boy that gets talked about most.
But we do agree that it is called the Darwinian theory of evolution.
Darwinian
Correct.
theory of evolution is by natural selection.
But we do agree in the
There are other
textbooks
theories.
it's called in the textbooks it is
Right.
called
Right.
the
Right, because they're
Darwinian,
teaching you the Darwinian
named
theory.
after
Charles
Charles
Darwin.
Yes.
Darwin.
They're
I just
teaching
want to
you
make sure
no,
we
you're right.
solidify.
I'm just telling
Okay.
you that he didn't create the ideas, and the only thing he added to it was adaptation by natural selection. That's it.
But he
Oh,
co-signed,
I
and
gotta add
now
my
they
brother
give
to
him
this.
credit. My bad.
Look. I gotta add. Look, I have to interrupt, and I'm so sorry. I got my brother Chief Cali. I got my shirt on. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm gonna tilt my thing down a little bit. This is my tribe shirt from Cali 216.
Yes,
You
yes,
type
yes.
in and get your tribe shirt for your
There he
niggas.
is.
Man, what's happening?
What up,
Melanated people
Chief?
of this land.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, y'all?
It's
What's
all
going
good,
on?
bro. It's all good, bro.
Hey,
And we have a question by Copper Consciousness. She said, and who is Darwin's peers? Like where we base this information off from? Like from these people who are blatant, for the most part. They didn't like melanated people anyway. So we're
Right.
going to base their information. We're going to take their information and base our lives off what they said, which is really erroneous.
Okay, so right, he wrote his book, The Original Species, right? And he came up with his ideas, but they came from what is it, the British Archaeological Society, whatever university you went to. But what I'm saying is, people keep conflating Darwin with out of Africa theory, and they don't have anything to do with each other.
Somebody's mic.
It does.
Is
It
that
doesn't.
me?
I don't
Do I
know.
need to
It doesn't.
do I need to put some headphones on?
It doesn't. It
No, I
doesn't.
think it's cleared up.
Like it doesn't, because
No, it's cleared.
all the other Africa theory is about is anatomically modern humans.
But that seems like
No,
it's inseparable.
it's not. It's not. They're not. They're not related at all. Because the out of Africa theory is not talking about evolution. It's just talking about modern humans, Homo sapien, where they might have come from.
But you're
I don't
using
know
the
who
term
somebody
modern
The
human.
out of Africa theory though, that's where your whole Lucy story comes in at. That's where
No,
that's
no, no, it
that's where
doesn't.
your
It
the
doesn't.
whole thing about all life, this whole all life comes from Africa thing
That's not what
comes
out of
from
Africa is saying.
the Lucy story.
That's not what out of Africa is saying. Okay, let me expound on this a little bit. Right now, there's conversations in the scientific community about the origins of hominids. When I say hominids, they're talking about creatures in a wider group than humans, right? And so they're saying they found this old hominid bone somewhere in Europe and Greece. They're saying that might be the origin of mankind. So I want to clarify that the origin of mankind and the origin of anatomically modern humans is two totally different conversations. All life, nobody's. If people always say we're saying all life comes from Africa, nobody's saying all life comes from Africa. That's not what it's saying. That's a misconception that people have about that.
So dealing with the Pan African community, nobody's saying that. That's not a theory. That all life comes from Africa. Nobody's saying that.
I can't speak for everybody. I'm
Oh,
telling
okay,
you,
okay,
I'm
because
telling
it
you
definitely is.
that the accurate understanding of out of Africa theory, it's got nothing to do with where all life came from. It don't even have nothing. It don't even have nothing to do with where all humans came from. It's
Well,
just
when we
talking about
talk
the
about
modern.
when we talk about the all life comes from Africa thing, it comes from
I
it
don't.
comes from the oldest bones supposed to be being found in Africa, which is the Lucy theory.
Yeah. So that's not what they okay. So let's talk about that real quick. What they're saying about Australopithecus, that's who Lucy is. They're saying that they think that Lucy is in the human family line. That's still got nothing to do with out of it's still a ways away from out of Africa because you got to go from Lucy to something something below Homo erectus, something above that might be Neanderthal and Denisova. See, so that's got nothing to do with out of Africa. It's a
Those bones that they say are the oldest bones had nothing to do with Lucy.
yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. Lucy is
Okay, okay,
Australopithecus. Yeah.
okay. So the out of Africa theory comes from that, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. It comes from them saying that modern humans that is where they trace the source of our species. Now,
Wait,
that's not it.
Real clarity to this. So Rob, 200,000 years ago, where the
Yeah.
scientists are estimating that every human being on Earth who is a
Yes.
modern Homo
Yes.
sapien can trace their mitochondrial DNA
Yes.
back to mitochondria Eve
Yes.
in Africa.
That's it.
In Africa.
That's
No,
it.
wait, though. So if you are a human and you are on Earth and as a Homo sapien, and they're saying that that's where your mitochondrial DNA, everybody's on Earth can go back there. How is that not out of Africa?
That
I'm
is
not
out of
understanding.
that is out of Africa. But I'm saying you're conflating that with evolution and all this other stuff, and that's not what out of Africa is about.
We can get to that, but this is let's just establish
Yeah.
we are now out of okay. We can get to the evolution part, but
Yeah.
okay. I digress. I digress.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and
Okay.
you clarified.
All right. So if we deal with the out of Africa theory,
Uh-huh.
that's dealing with the Lucy, the finding of these bones of Lucy. No.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's Lucy. Whether
What
you
what
believe it, Lucy.
what does Lucy deal with? Because from what I understand, this deals
right.
with the oldest bones found, which y'all are trying to say,
Let's
or the
let's clarify the oldest bones of what?
Monkey bones.
yeah.
The oldest bones. Let's get the
See.
scientific term.
So
The
let me
oldest the oldest bones of a supposed human ancestor. That's what they're saying Lucy is supposed to be.
and Lucy were monkey bones. They were
Monkey
monkey
bones.
bones.
So, Lucy was an Australopithecus.
They were monkey bones. You can
No,
look up.
Lucy was not. Lucy was not a monkey.
You can look up. You can look up Lucy's cousin.
Yeah,
You
you
can
can.
look up Lucy's sister.
Yeah, Australopithecus were not monkeys. I'm just
So
saying
what
the
are they?
scientific term. They weren't monkeys. That's
But
all.
college, it's
If we
simple.
go
It's
pull
simple.
up pictures of Lucy, what are we going to see?
It's not human. I guess I can tell you that. I mean that's not human. I mean,
What is it? What is it?
it has nothing to do with when my conversation about modern humans coming out of Africa.
What is it?
That's the problem. See, people keep conflating whether they believe Australopithecus is in human line with saying that they're tracing the origins of modern, anatomically modern Homo sapiens to Africa. And this brother, Copper Consciousness, just said I claim that all life came out of Africa, and I never said all life came out of Africa. You got to listen.
No, you listen. You may not. You may not. You may not personally, but a lot of Pan Africans do.
Listen, I
That's
can't
correct.
argue for them, and if they said it, I would argue against. If they came and said it, I would argue against them too, because that's not what.
No, and I feel you on that because this is what I be telling y'all. Y'all are not even on the same page with this.
Ain't nobody on the same page, bro.
Because when we get to talking about, because here's the thing: 1 minute y'all will tell us that all life comes from Africa, and y'all use the a lot of them use the monkey bones found in Africa as the cause of this. But
Right.
then when you talk to other Pan Africans, they're gonna tell you, oh no, we don't come from no monkeys, and we don't. So then when I say, and a lot of times we try to hide behind the common ancestor thing. So as far as we can go back, as we look at this common ancestor, as far as we can go back, it looks like a monkey, an ape.
Yep.
Well, listen, this is what I'm going to say to you guys real quick about this subject, because I feel like it's people have an ideological and emotional objection to out of Africa just because of that one point that they think that is, and that's not even what it's talking about, right?
Well, do you feel like
But
you come from
hold
monkey?
on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. So somebody told me the other day, I'm not going to debate with you because you think we come from monkeys, which I never said, right? But
No, y'all say a common ancestor.
stop saying y'all, because I'm not saying
Well, that's what many of them say is
yeah,
a common ancestor.
a common ancestor, right? They're saying that humans and apes have a common ancestor. Okay.
What is that? What is that common ancestor? What is
let me. I'll come back to that. Let me just make a real quick point, and I'm gonna come back to this because that's an emotional objection, right? Like you can say I don't agree with it, right? It's your
what it
objection.
is. What is it?
Hold on. I'm asking a rhetorical question. Is your objection scientific or is it emotional, right? What I mean, scientists say that the Earth was formed from a cosmic ball of dust, right? Do you object to that too? You see what I'm saying? Like, so all life, all organisms on Earth have Earth in common, okay? All organisms on Earth have elements of Earth in their bodies, in their being, okay? So
you asking for a scientific objection to that?
Right.
What can you repose it again? Can
Yeah,
you
sure.
what are we objecting to? Because I'm analyzing that, and I may.
Do you have a scientific objection to Earth forming from a cosmic ball of dust and gas?
No, I mean, as it relates to the topic, I may not
Right.
have
As it
an
relates to the
objection
topic,
to
my
that,
point
but as it
really
relates
is
to
my point
life
really,
and where it comes from
yeah.
on the planet.
Yeah. My point is
Because I don't think anybody really knows that. We keep digging. We don't know how far this goes. But I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, might have to get into some ancient tablets of Sumeria and all that other kind of stuff. I don't know if we want to go there, but I don't think none of us really know how it started. I mean, even abiogenesis ain't telling us much. They researching, but nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So it could have not been Africa.
Whoa. Okay, hold on 1 second.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to
We
rewind
don't
one
know.
second. I got what you're saying. So what I was just trying to walk it back to, we're having an argument about out of Africa. Most people, their objection to it is because of evolution, theory of evolution, right? It's not a scientific objection. It's an emotional one, is what I'm saying, right? But what I'm saying is, first and foremost,
Not necessarily, bro.
huh?
Yeah,
No.
why do you keep saying this in emotional?
Yeah,
Why do
I'm
you?
not.
Because we
What's
object.
the scientific argument against it?
Bro, are we? Were these not monkey bones that were put
Okay.
together? Were these not monkey bones that were put together? That's not emotion, bro.
It's not.
That's
Okay. Let me ask a simpler question. Does anybody on here object that we're mammals?
No, I don't object to that.
Okay. Because all mammals, their females produce milk from the mammary glands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, and male species got dinglings. What that? I mean, like, what is that supposed to prove?
What does it prove?
I mean, like,
what does it prove?
Yeah, what does that prove? I mean,
it proves that there's creatures on this earth that aren't mammals. The creatures that on earth that are mammals share common traits.
That's fine.
Okay, so if I took my DNA, if I take my blood,
You
I had
want to hear me?
a blood transfusion some years ago. There's no way in hell that I could have got any type of blood in my body from a monkey, from a pig, from any other mammal other than a human being that has genetic ties to my similar DNA. There's no way.
Oh yeah.
that I would probably survive something like that. You can't mix the two types of bloods. You
No, you
can't
can't.
mix the two types of DNAs.
You can't.
So, and what Chief Cali was asking, Lucy is, as we all know collectively, she's a monkey. Look like a monkey. She swing from a tree. She a monkey.
And that's the story. Lucy fell from a tree.
And it's not emotion. This is the collective saying of what of information that's presented and that's given. It's not emotional
I
based.
understand what you're saying.
I think most people, like Pan-Africans, when we don't agree with what you're saying, then it comes out as we emotional when it's not. We're just asking questions.
I think that
The question within the question is going to give you the answer.
I think
so
that kind of like we are.
Questions, we should be able to get to some type of answer.
I
to
agree.
understand.
I think that really we're kind of off on a tangent.
As the way it stands out right now, this out of Africa theory is just is what it is. It's just a theory.
It's just a theory.
Okay. So this is what I want to say about that real quick. Because I feel like we went off on a tangent and we got away from the actual topic. Because we're talking about stuff that we have an ideological difference on. And somebody, we got some feedback from somebody.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
But
let me see if I put my headphones in or something.
Okay.
But I really want to get back to this conversation about who Black Americans are, right? Because I think that whether you agree with Out of Africa or not, right, we can talk about the empirical data that we have right here in the Americas to have this discussion.
Okay. Let me hear that.
So I'll go back to when I was talking about Paleo-Americans who were the most ancient Americans that they found here. The brother Taino Fury said that they found somebody in the Carolinas or something like that that was 100,000 years old. I'd like to see a source on that because I have not seen that. But what I'm going to say is this: there's two ways to get here, right? There's two ways to get to this landmass, right, or these two land masses. Actually, three ways. So you could either sail from the west coast of Africa, right, or sail from the west. You could either take the coast from Asia to get here, right, or you can come across a Siberian landmass, right, from Beringia. People are saying that they have always been here. How did they get here?
Hey, Rob, is that your question?
Yeah,
I was waiting on that. I was waiting on that question because
let's go there.
Yeah. I was waiting on that because I thought about that for a little while. And by the way, there is a source out there. I think it's fairly new, so you may not know about it because I was just looking at that 130,000 years ago. Some native woman found some skeleton over in the Carolinas. But yeah, so that question I think is a great question because the same can be asked of Africa. Where did they come from?
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. That's exactly where I was going.
Right.
Where would they have come from if that's the case?
Right. Okay. Well, I'll answer that question real quick, and then we can get back to talking about the Americas. So, as it stands right now, the scientific community, I'm going to tell you, there's some problems with Out of Africa because there's a lot of unanswered questions about humans, right? Human origins. So, like when people get on this like high horse and trying to beat me up about it, like I'm not stomping for it. I'm just telling you, based on the information we have, this best matches our understanding, okay, about modern humans. Scientists know that there are archaic humans, right? The Neanderthals, like I said, Denisovans, those beings were not in Africa, okay? So that means that somebody had to come into Africa to bring any of that DNA, right, into Africa. And that's what.
So what you seem to be saying is the only remains we're gonna find of something here in the North Americas would be something beneath what we are today, which is Homo sapien.
No, not at all. Not at all. You're
not what you're saying.
I'm saying
that's older than the ones in for Lucy as well. There are pyramids in the Americas that's older than the ones over in Egypt.
There are no bones in the America that are older than.
I'll make sure I pull it because I think I posted that. I think I posted it in the group. I'm not sure, but I have to go back and get it.
There's some people who posted a Guadalupe woman, and they said that it's millions of years old. And that was just misinformation because when you go back to the British Museum, the people who handled it, they say first and foremost that they can't determine the age, but what they did say about the skeleton is that it's a modern human. So it's definitely not millions of years old.
But they can determine Lucy?
Yeah. Yeah. Lucy is not a human. The Guadalupe woman is a human. That's what I'm saying.
So then so look, Paul, pause right there. Paul, look, because you just actually cleared up something just literally right there.
Mm-hmm.
You said Lucy was not a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Lucy wasn't a human, but
no.
she was from Africa, correct?
Lucy, they found Lucy in Africa, yeah.
Okay, so she wasn't a human, but she was on the continent of Africa. Uh-huh. Now we're going to skip over to the Americas. Okay. You had Guadalupe, who was a human,
right,
in the Americas. So would that not say that life form has started, human life form started in the Americas? Because remember, you just said that Lucy was not a human.
Right.
I'm not gonna call her monkey. You said she wasn't a human. So then that omits the out of Africa theory for humanity, for humans, because then wouldn't that Guadalupe take over that now? Because that's a human
How
being?
old is Guadalupe? How old is Guadalupe?
They don't know how old the stone that she was deposited in was limestone. Okay. And so that limestone was what could be calcified or liquefied at any point in time.
What did they date the stone?
The actual skeleton is
to be older than Lucy. It was dated to be older than Lucy according to some of the things that I read.
Not the skeleton, no.
According to what some of the stuff that I read, it was dated to be older than Lucy.
People post misinformation. The actual, but I have the actual source from the British Museum who has the Guadalupe woman, and they said that the skeleton is a modern human.
Okay, well, either way, Lucy is not a human, so that would
Lucy is not a part of this. Lucy is not a part of my argument.
Anyways.
Yeah, Lucy is not even a part of my argument.
No, I was clarifying because I know that wasn't part of your argument, but you settled the argument right there. Because if Lucy was not a human, but Guadalupe was a human in the Americas, then we can't say that life form started in Africa based off.
No.
And again, I'm not saying that you're saying this. Right. I'm saying that this is what the Pan-African community collectively says. So based on what they're saying collectively, humanity did not start in Africa. It would have started in the Americas because Lucy was not a human.
He says he can't hear anybody. Sure.
Oh, let me add Top Cat in there. Hold on. Where you at? There you go.
All right. I'm going to clarify something real quick. Guadalupe.
I'm trying to get you back in.
The museum that had Guadalupe woman said that they cannot identify the age of the skeleton. Okay. Let's just.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay. What he did.
No one.
You can't hear anybody. Okay, you got to check your audio settings, brother.
His. Let me. It's. I don't know why it's muted, but he's unmuted now. Go ahead. Go ahead, Top Cat.
Yeah, I wanted to know, Brother Rob. He said that's not his argument. So, what exactly is your argument?
All right, let me clear up Guadalupe real quick.
Guadalupe. Hold on. If Lucy not your argument, then how could Guadalupe be your argument? I want to know what's your stance on the topic of the.
I'm about to get video. To it. Just give me 1 second, brother. So, Guadalupe woman Guadalupe woman is a non sequitur because Guadalupe woman's age wasn't determined. They say it's a modern human. That means it's not ancient. The bones are not ancient. Okay, that's what I'm saying about Guadalupe woman. There's no argument about the antiquity of bones in the Americas because we don't have any ancient bones in the Americas, right?
We don't have any ancient bones in America. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Well, the first collection of of bones did start in Americas by George Morton. If you're not familiar with that.
Oh yeah, okay, by Samuel Morton.
Yeah, Samuel. My bad, Samuel Morton.
He refers
to And the bones that he take up, did he take them from Africa, or did he use the skulls in the Americas from the Indian Wars?
Well, Samuel Morton, first of all, he was one of those guys who was like a eugenicist and did craniometry, right? We were kind of talking about this in the
Well,
past.
he's pre-eugenics, so he wouldn't be a eugenist, sir.
Well, they use him? They use his data, right, to get started with. Let's say that. Samuel Morton was looking at ancient American bones, right? And they were trying to figure out where they came from, right?
You're not Africans, right?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Not at all. Not at all.
So we do agree that the bones were looked at in America, because you just made a statement that they weren't.
Samuel Morton's bones that he collected?
He's the first to do it, unless you have someone that came before him, because he sent 4 of his copies to Europe, and that's how they were accepted through the Royal Society, which is the oldest
Society. But
scientific.
we're talking about the most ancient bones found, and they're not in America, right?
Well, that's gonna come later.
Okay.
Yeah, that conversation about ancient bones is not gonna come till later.
Okay.
I heard y'all speaking about the Darwin theory. They came out of the Royal Geographical Society.
Okay.
Now, Darwin wasn't the first, because you had Emrys, who was his grandfather, who was also he was also into this science.
Yeah.
Now, the Darwin's son is going to be the president of the Royal Geographical Society and also British eugenics at the same time.
Right.
So that's how they're going to connect. And Davenport and those guys from the eugenics is going to bring it to the U.S. So I'm asking, what is your stance on the topic? Because if you're saying, even if the oldest bones were in Africa, my question to you would be, how did they leave out of Africa? Because African tribes were not seafaring people.
Yeah, that's a good question. All right, so if we just talking,
great question.
If we're talking strictly just about the out of Africa theory, they're saying that notice I'm saying there. I'm just understanding the information, right? They're saying that there was a satellite group, maybe one group, maybe 2 groups, maybe 3. They don't know, who left and went on into Eurasia and went on into Asia. And
How did they travel there?
They had to walk.
They had to walk. Okay. Do you feel like walking to the store?
I mean, listen.
All right. So why would someone walk across the planet? We know that Africans were not seafaring people. How do we know that? Because Africans do not have colonies around the world.
Why would someone walk across the planet? Because that's what humans did. Humans went across.
No, humans were seafarers. At the time that these people were walking, you have civilizations who were profound in seafaring.
You didn't have to.
They were shipbuilders and they were navigators of the sea.
All right, let's go back real quick. 40,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, people aren't seafaring people navigating the entire planet.
And where's your source on that, sir?
There's no source. There's no source. We just know.
All right, then we're not here for your opinion.
We know that 40,000 years ago there were people who left Africa.
We don't know that because
we went to Eurasia.
We don't know that because we don't know how they got to where they saying they got to.
We know because their bones were there. Okay.
What bones, brother? And how old is bones before, brother? Do you know how long do it take for bones? Can you go dig up your third great grandpa and his bones still in the grave? No, sir.
Why would I?
How are we pulling up million years old bones?
Let's think about that for a second. How could you pull up bones? Because what happens to what is the Earth's process of the sedimentary process? What happens? You got layers from different ages because over time the Earth is a sedimentary process that happens. So you can definitely dig up bones from earlier periods in time.
Okay, so my question still stands. If Africans were not a seafaring people, how did they populate the world? When we have seafaring nations out here who actually had colonies in more than one continent.
Seafaring people who
yes, sir.
You're talking about modern humans. You're talking about
I'm not talking about modern humans.
Yeah, we are.
Africans never were seafaring people.
That's the only thing that out of Africa talking about is modern humans.
Listen to me, Brother Rob. Africans never were seafaring. They're not even seafaring people today.
You don't have to be seafaring. You don't have to be seafaring to walk from out of East Africa.
Well, if we're talking about civilization, then you have to be a seafarer. Meaning you have to have an advanced science or knowledge that others do not have.
Talking
Okay,
about civilization is moving the goalposts, brother. We're talking about people. We're talking about ancient humans, anatomically modern humans who walked up out of Africa based on out of Africa theory. You ain't gotta be.
and what tribe was this that walked out of Africa first?
Nobody knows what tribe it was.
Okay, so why are we having this conversation?
It's impossible.
Okay, so that's even more reason of you shouldn't be having this conversation right now.
No, it's absolutely a reason
because it is impossible for you to prove.
Because we can take empirical data and we can extrapolate.
Where are you extrapolating this data if you just told me it's impossible to prove it? That means there's no sources.
I just told you where they're getting the data from. They're getting the data from bones.
Well, they're the colonizer. I mean, if you're into colonizer,
so I tell you what, if we're not taking any colonizer data, then you can make some arguments.
Brother, you're older than that science. Were you born before 1985?
I wasn't born before Samuel Morton started.
Well, Samuel Morton was doing cranial measurements with scientific racism. He was saying that the basically black people were inferior to white people because of their skull sizes and these type of things. We know that because they came back and apologized later on in the 1970s.
That's right.
But my question to you, you even had friends Boaz and them who later anthropology came back and went against it. Yep. So my question to you is, what African tribe are you from?
What African tribe am I from? Come on, brother.
Yes, sir. That's a real question.
No,
are you an African? I apologize. You're right. I apologize. Are you an African? Are you of African descent?
I'm of African descent.
You are? Yeah. What tribe?
I don't know what tribe. But what
so
tribe.
how do you know you're of African descent if you don't know what tribe you're from?
Because I'm of African descent because my DNA matches with cousins in Africa.
With cousins in Africa.
That's right.
And do you know how they got to Africa?
No, I have no idea how they got to Africa.
Okay, so is it possible that they left America and moved to Africa?
No.
It's not a possibility. You just told me you didn't know how they go. So where did you get that?
Not a possibility. Not a possibility.
Okay, so let me ask you this here. Did Americans build colonies in Africa for Sierra Leone and Liberia? Did Americans have...
Watch this.
Hold on, one second. Hold on, I'm almost done. 10 seconds.
I like when people try to move the goalpost on me.
No, we're not moving the goalpost. These are very direct questions. And I see you moving around a lot. You were very comfortable earlier. But you can't find a comfortable spot in your seat. I see you leaning to the left and the right. These are very direct questions.
This is the beauty of semantics. Now, we're talking about ancient Americans, right?
Now, Rob, you're being emotional now. You're not thinking with a logical mind. You're being emotional.
Simple question. What tribe are you from?
I'm excited.
That's what you told us earlier. No emotions.
I'm excited. Now, check this out.
Yeah.
So now,
excitement is not emotion.
This brother came in and he wanted to move the goalposts of the discussion to trying to use me in a modern context to make an ancient argument. Now, tell me what sense that makes.
Well, you can make an ancient argument because you I'm sorry, Ms. Wonder. Brother, you yourself just told us that it's impossible and that there are no primary sources. So I'm past that conversation. If it's impossible and you have no sources on it, then we should move past that conversation, which I did. So we went to you, Brother Rob, and I asked, were you African? You said, yes, I'm African. What African tribe are you from? You said you don't know. So I'm trying to figure out, if you don't know what African tribe you're from, how do you know that you're an African? You tell me you did a DNA test. But Brother Rob, I'm pretty sure you're older than the Human Genome Project, which came out in 1990. I'm pretty sure you're older than 1990.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
what is that?
Okay, so before 1990 in this test, where were you, brother?
I'm gonna tell you where I was. I'm gonna tell you where I was before 1990. I was in Houston, Texas. All right, but that none of that has anything to do with whether I.
Yeah, but was you an African?
In Africa?
The question is, was you an African before 1990?
Of course, I was not. Come on now, brother.
You would tell you wasn't an African. I'm glad you're being honest with me.
Just like you can go up to.
So when did you become an African?
So-called white person. And you're gonna tell them they don't have.
No, I don't want with no white people here today. We're talking to Rob. So you just confirmed us that before 1990 you were not an African. So when was it that you found out you were an African?
Come on, bro.
1991.
I never said I was an African. I said I'm African descendant. And when did I find out I'm African descendant? By reading, brother. by doing research.
You read what book was it you read?
What book do you want to talk about?
The book that you read that said Rob is an African?
No, we don't have to talk about Rob as an African. We don't have to talk about Rob as an African. We can talk about Rob comes from a community of people who most of my descendants came here as Africans. Some came as Europeans.
Okay, because you do have strong Black European gene phenotype. I'm looking at you first time I saw it, I said that's a Black European. Okay, so brother, with this African, what year did you take your African DNA test?
This is what we're gonna do.
Brother Rob, can you find a comfortable you want to get another chair out the house? I don't think that chair is working for you.
The discussion is who do we say the Black Americans are?
No, that's not the discussion. The topic is African Americans. Where do they come from? That's the topic.
Well, we can talk about African Americans. We can talk about African Americans. Where do they come from?
And I get that these are really tough questions for you, Rob. But no, they're not.
They're not tough questions. They're not tough questions for me at all because
okay.
Because
answer one.
This is what the brother is doing. He's trying to move the goalpost of the conversation so that we don't have to address actual sources, empirical data. He wants to try to make me the crux of the argument, and I'm not the crux of the argument.
Well, brother Rob, hold on, sister one. I think I can explain to him. Well, brother Rob, this is what you have to understand. If the title in itself, we have to understand that we're dealing with real people. Okay, so in order to deal with real people, the only primary source in this will be humans, not DNA, not empirical data, not scientists, not anthropologists. They're talking about people. Rob, if you are
not a primary source,
brother Rob, if you are the descendant, that means your ancestors were in the transatlantic slave trade. If you're a descendant of Africa, correct?
That's right.
So since your ancestors that went through that traumatic experience are not here, the only primary source to that would be you.
No,
you're the next connection, right? So yes, sir. If you're a descendant of Africa, then you're a primary source.
I'm not at all the.
Well, we can only deal with people.
Primary source.
We can only you can't use another slave to validate Rob's story because that slave doesn't have the same mother and father, which means they wouldn't have the same descendant that came through the African slave trade. So, brother Rob, this is a personal conversation, which you would have to be the primary source. You come here to throw around what scientists and empirical data says. We're trying to find out what a Rob bloodline go back to. Is he or is he not a real African?
I just told you where my bloodlines go
according
back
to white folks,
Central Africa, and to Europe, to Ireland.
Yeah, you do look very Irish. Do you know the Irish were black?
No, they weren't black.
Okay, well, do your research.
They weren't black. The brother is muted, but let's do this real quick since the brother.
He's not muted. Callie, we can't hear you, Callie. Callie, we can't hear you.
No, I was just saying, brother, you got to understand that's not everybody's story, though, right?
I don't believe that it's everybody's story. I said that from the beginning that we cannot make arguments as if we are operating in a continuum. I acknowledge the fact that we're composed of many people from the beginning.
Right. So why are you holding on to this African? I'm sorry.
I'm not holding on to African. I say we are African descendants. That's a difference.
You just said that we're all not the same.
Who are the we?
Okay, let me say it plain. Let me say it plainly. The vast majority of so-called Black Americans are composed of people of African descent.
But brother Rob, that's almost impossible, and it wouldn't have any validity coming from you because you yourself just told us you don't know what type of African you are. So, brother, the data that we need is not there, especially coming from you. So you wouldn't be a good source of that. We would need someone who actually can prove African descent and what tribe, and they're actually
how would that make the argument valid? How would that make the argument valid when you yourself just said that we all don't have the same descendants?
We don't. We all have our own story, and that's what.
So that's not that person is not a primary source either. Then. So. No, sir. Nobody from the past is here to speak for themselves. except nobody. Watch this. Nobody from the past is here to speak for themselves, except for those people who have documented, self-documented. Let's talk about people who have self-documented. No, no, but I can speak on it. I can speak on it because I can go read. I can go read. I can go read about the people who self-documented all of these against that. How am I going to read about myself, brother?
How does yes? How does that go
That's a
into your
totally
story of who you are?
totally different conversation. It's a totally different, and I don't disagree with it. I don't disagree with the conversation. I just think it's a totally different conversation. Now, I absolutely do know the fact that this
Can I
is what
ask
I
a
know.
question
This
right
is what I
quick?
know because the brother moved the goalpost. This is what I know. Black Americans, so-called Black Americans, are not represented here skeletally, morphologically pre-Columbus. That's what I know.
What?
Not here. Not here.
Oh, where you get that from?
Well, I get that from empirical data, brother.
So, brother, let me ask you this: the people here on this land, they were Africans. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, not at all. They
Who
were
were
not.
they? Who were they?
The people who originally came here were all Asiatics. Whether you talking about Paleo Americans, whether you talking about the people that followed them, that story has not been. That story has not been. I bet you think. I bet you think that you're talking about the. You're talking about the. You're talking about the Bering Strait. I'm not talking about the Bering Strait theory. I'm not talking about the Bering Strait.
Who you talking about?
Nope. False. False. Theories. They're not. They're not attached to the Bering Strait because they're talking. They're talking about coastal theories of coastal migration, sir.
Yeah.
It's a theory, and it's a theory, and but we have but the data that we have on Paleo Americans is that their genetics match with people outside of the Americas in Asia. That's the data that we have.
So that comes with a bear. That
No,
comes with a
Paleo Americans share common ancestry with Siberians. No, they came through coastal migrations from Asia. Yep, they came through coastal migrations from Asia, brother. Ice wind. You got to give a date. You got to give a date.
Like the Bering Strait there.
You got to give a date, brother. Ice wind.
I know them people fucked up.
Yeah, it sounds like that to you because you don't want to address that. You want to move the goal. Let's deal with it. When you deal with the empirical data, I'm saying that those are the people that were here first, based on the data.
I got a question for Ron.
You keep talking about the ice bridge, and I'm not talking about the ice bridge, brother.
Brother,
Right. They found people here as old as up to 30,000 years ago. But that doesn't negate Paleo Americans, does it?
they said the audience can't hear Top Cat. They said we can hear them on the panel, but they can't hear for some reason. They said they can't hear Top Cat. I don't know.
I can hear him pretty good. I hear him. I hear him fine. Okay, yeah. I don't know what that is.
That's what they're saying. They think the panel can hear Top Cat, but they're saying in the audience they can't hear Top Cat.
Okay.
Is this? Oh wait, why is the settings muted down there?
What happened?
Is his settings? His audio is muted down there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can somebody? Can you do a mic check? Top.
They said they can't hear at all.
What?
Really?
And it says in the chat. It says we can't hear at all.
What the what?
They said they can hear everyone except for Top Cat.
Wow, that's crazy because I don't even because he's coming through loud and clear on our end.
Yeah, I hear them too, but that's what they're saying. They saying, yeah, more people. Somebody else is saying we can't hear Top Cat.
Wow.
So that's what they're saying. They're saying the panel can hear him, but
Right.
they can hear him in the audience.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Yeah, just gonna probably have to
Maybe
continue. But we got this. I wanted to show this to Rob right quick. I don't know if you can you see the let me remove Callie from the scene right quick. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
travel all the time. That don't just doesn't.
The people that did actually do firsthand drawings, they look totally different from these type of allegorical type of
But
paintings.
then,
That's a lie.
It's a lie.
That is a lie.
I got sources. I can prove it, brother.
Well, what sources you have showing the first contact of Americans
Yeah.
being Mongoloid? Show it to me.
Wait a
Go
minute.
far back as the
How we
1400s.
going from ancient to modern? Now we got to start somewhere. Now we hopping all
No,
over.
because you're trying to make the argument that because the people in the paintings look a certain way, you argue about it. But if they look like the stereotypical Native American, you wouldn't have no argument. You wouldn't even refute it.
I don't have an
Would
argument
you?
about it. I'm gonna tell you why I have an argument about it because I've
Because
done
of the brown of their skin.
no,
That's
not at
why.
all. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you and show you. First and foremost, there were dark skinned Indians here. There's nothing to refute that. That's a fact. Okay, but to sit up here and imply that because they were dark skinned that means they were us is totally different. That's a totally different conversation.
Who is us?
Us as in so-called Black Americans.
Well, okay, so here we go with that.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, you don't even know your genealogy. Many of us.
Do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the data? Do you want to try to make me the argument for every person on this continent?
Well, bro,
First of all, you don't know who you are.
You don't
Remember,
even know who you are.
I don't know. I do know my genealogy now. I never said that. I didn't say that.
No. What? Okay. Have you traced your lineage? Your specific
I've traced
lineage.
my lineage as far as I could trace it here.
Here,
How far
right?
back does it go?
Here, right?
Yeah.
Now, brother. Now we asked you about your people over in Africa. You
Right.
said
I don't know. Come on now. I don't know anybody in Africa. All I know is I have connections in Africa.
what are we talking about, man? Like what?
Yes. That because I was connected through DNA. I don't know them.
What DNA? What test
DNA?
did you take?
What DNA?
Yeah. What test did you take?
I took the
You take
23andMe
one for.
ancestor DNA test.
Okay. Did you take one?
Man, we dealing with DNA tests. We talking about DNA. Oh man, that's what we talking about here.
No,
We talk
that doesn't work.
DNA.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we need to. Okay, I see. I don't need DNA to make these numbers. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man, we
Yeah.
talking about
I,
DNA
I,
tests, man.
I don't need DNA to make my arguments. I can talk
Okay,
about
so
just yeah.
what genealogical records or footprint you have, like on paper? Like, say if you was to go in front of the United Nations and say, "Hey, I want to sue for reparations for my African ancestors being enslaved."
Who
What
do you attach
proof?
yourself to?
Huh?
What proof? Who? Name an ancestor that you can link to say, "Hey, I'm going forward with this claim that this person was such and such. He was an African. He came from this nation. He was enslaved by either the Spanish, the British." What lineage, what paper trail do you have that you can make that claim if that was the case, saying that you're an African
Okay.
of African descent?
Okay. Let me say it this way real quick.
And after he answers, let me address Bella.
Yeah.
Let me address Bella.
Let me say it this way real quick. So-called Black Americans were not recorded on the census until 1875. Okay.
What?
Yeah. Prior to that, though, it's possible to trace ancestors through if people kept birth records, which some slave masters were required to keep birth records. So it's possible to trace it through that line. It ain't easy. Okay. What you're asking people to do is something that is damn near next to impossible, is to trace to get a paper trail on somebody who might have been sold to somebody and didn't have any clue about who their people, where their people came from. So
Man,
you're asking me to give you a government documentation on somebody who was not in the system up until a certain point.
Cool. I'm gonna let Kali respond. Then I'm gonna respond after that because I got a very important question for you.
Okay.
Let me just address this whole DNA thing, right? I mean, it's 2024. It's 2024. There's more than enough information out here showing you these. Listen, you don't have to argue with somebody like me. I'm just a guy on YouTube, right? I'm just a guy on YouTube. There are scientists who at the universities who actually study DNA, who's telling you this stuff does not trace back your ancestry. These people are, listen, I'm on YouTube.
Yeah.
Bro, I have, listen, on my document.
What they're saying is that
okay, let me just say this on my document. I took the time to pull up those investigation reports, but I also took the time for us to dig into the ancestry itself. From their own website, they tell you it does not trace back your ancestry. You feel what I'm saying? It doesn't trace back to ancestry. Even the scientists at the university use these words. They use these words.
Mm-hmm.
It does not trace back your ancestry. The scientists,
and that's, you know what, that's false. Because
okay, so why aren't you debating the scientists then?
Okay, hold on real quick, because I'm not okay. Let me say it in a different way. I know what you're saying. It's saying that it's not going to go and trace your grandfather, your grandmother, and that's true, right? But the way that DNA tests work is it takes your DNA and it compares it to other people, other populations.
Brother, when the scientists themselves tell you it does not trace back your ancestry.
I understand what you're saying.
But you just said it's wrong. You're telling
what the insinuation is wrong. What you're saying is you can't use DNA to find people you're related to. You can.
No, that's not what I said. No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no, that's
Okay.
not what I said.
Okay. So we agree that you can use DNA to find people that you're related to.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay, that's it.
It doesn't trace back and
I got you. Right. Yes, it can't trace your grandparents. You would have to have their DNA.
You can find close people. You can find people close in time. A couple cousins or something somewhere. We're talking about ancient. We're
not talking about ancient because this conversation is not a conversation about ancient. When we're talking about modern populations in America, we can close it off right there within the last 500 years. Who are people related to?
Brother, have you watched these investigative reports on these things?
Yes.
What do they mean when they're telling you it doesn't trace back? When they tell you, take this shit with a grain of salt. It's entertainment. I mean, these are the scientists saying it's not a nigga on YouTube.
Right.
These are the scientists. Even the guy Rick Kittles got called out about his shit.
Yeah.
He got called out too.
Right.
So when Rick Kittle tells you it only gives you less than 1%, it's only less than 1% accurate. This is what this man is telling you himself. He says we don't oversell a service. We just offer a service.
Right.
He's telling you if you want to find a small piece of your ancestry, that's what he said. And the lady asked him, what do you mean by a small piece? He said less than 1%. Less than 1%.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Brother, how accurate is this then, bro? When we talking about DNA kit?
Because this is why. Because you got to put what's being said in context, brother.
Okay, brother.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Context is key. Let me give you an example. There's no way nobody can tell you if you are related to some ancient population somewhere, right? Because what happens with DNA over time you lose data. Okay, so that's why nobody. So what are we talking about? We're talking about modern populations and where they're situated within the last 500 years.
All right, brother.
That's what we're talking about.
All right, brother.
DNA.
I don't never see y'all make no videos debunking these scientists who are clearly out of their mouth telling you it doesn't trace back your ancestry. That's our whole point. It's tracing back ancestry. Our genealogy can trace back our ancestry
to a point, right?
All right. So why are you? If your DNA can't trace back your ancestry past the time that you're talking about here on this land, you can't even figure out past the people. You said I did my genealogy to this point on this land, right? You're not getting anything. You're not going past this land, bro.
Let me help you real quick because I am right. My DNA traces back to some of the early people who came to Virginia. Okay, my DNA traces back to people in the Carolinas. Okay, yeah.
Who were those people?
What do you mean? Who are those people? They're looking at populations. That's what they're looking at.
Your people. You said my people trace back to some of those
early people who came into Virginia. Yeah.
Who were those people? What were their names?
Well, we don't know their names.
Well, what are you talking about then?
Don't know their names. We're talking about populations, brother.
Brother,
can I ask a question? Can I ask a question right quick? Rob, being that you're the only one that's on here that's pro-African, and it wasn't intended to be that way. There was another guy that was there was two other guys that were supposed to come on. I don't know what happened to them. They are no show. But at any rate, I do want to commend you for staying on. And, I hope you don't think that we're taking shots or anything like that. But these are questions that great. These are questions that we really genuinely trying to understand and figure out and things, and whatnot. So I just want to commend you for at least having the conversation. I really appreciate that. Which I want to ask you a question. How many Africans over in Africa are spitting in tubes to look for y'all over here?
How many Africans are spitting in tubes to look for us over here? I don't.
How many are there? How many Africans over there that y'all say that y'all have ancestry, lineage, blood ties to?
Right.
How many of them are spitting in the DNAs, the 23andMe kits, and all that other stuff to look for y'all over here?
I don't know. To answer the question, when you go to the DNA websites, they tell you that they use reference populations, and they use reference populations from people who they try to verify that they've been in the same place for a long time. People who know that their people have been in the same place for a long time. And
I get that, but that doesn't answer the question. You're giving me a background and definition of what that is.
Yeah.
I just want you to understand what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Literally understand what I'm asking you.
Mhm.
Are they doing the same process that the so-called African Americans are doing to look for them over there? Are they doing the same process to look for you guys over here?
Well,
It's yes or no. It's literally yes or no.
I don't know. Okay, but
The
I
answer
don't
would
know.
definitely be no.
I don't know. I don't know, and I would say no because
Have anybody reached out to you then? Has anybody from anyone in the tribes reached out to you before you reached out to them? Was they looking for you before you was looking for them?
There are cousins who have reached out to me. Yes.
Prior to you looking to them, looking for them.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Okay, so you're one out of what?
Really. That's anecdotal though. Like that doesn't.
No,
really
it's not, because the thing is, if you're not really seeing the thing here. If they ain't looking for y'all and spitting in tubes looking for y'all spitting in tubes looking for them and getting into this big database, and now you're saying, oh, I'm part Nigerian, I'm part Lagos, I'm part this, I'm part that. No, you're not. It's just y'all just spitting in shit and they sending it off. They did the same thing with goats and cows and dogs.
Let me ask you this question real
It's
quick.
the same thing. They're not looking for y'all.
Let me ask you this question real quick, because I don't really see why that's an argument for anything. But if I go take a test, and if my brother go takes a test, and they link us to the same people, what are they just making up stuff?
I didn't know. That wasn't what I was saying.
Okay,
Because
let me ask you another question. When I take a test, they don't. When I take a test, they don't ask me.
We understand that it's test to who you're related to.
Okay.
What Callie was saying the whole time is that it does not trace back to some type of ancestry to over there. You can't find that test.
Right. We're not going to find ancestors. Right. That mean the DNA tests are
But
just
it's
relative
called
to
ancestry kit. It's
But it's
called
called ancestry.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because you know why it's called ancestry kit? Because it's supposed to be used as a tool, as a supplement along with your genealogy. That's why it's ancestry kit. It's not DNA is not a tool. That's
call it DNA kit, brother.
Ancestors, okay?
They could simply just call it DNA kit.
I mean, that's semantics, but I mean, to me,
why add the ancestry if it doesn't trace?
I can't make an argument out of why they label something.
I'm just asking. I mean,
it's marketing, right?
I mean, brother, I mean,
it's marketing.
It's called ancestry, right?
Yeah.
They could have called it paternal. What is it? The
maternal, paternal DNA.
Same thing. They could have called criminal. They could have called it criminal DNA kit. They could have called it because there's different type of DNA. Okay.
This brother. Okay, so this brother keeps saying that tell people nobody's saying to ignore your records. Nobody's saying to ignore your records. Use your family records. Use every tool. I'm talking about the brother down there. Use every tool that's available to you at your disposal. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a reason they called it ancestry.
I can't argue with somebody. I can't argue somebody else's reason.
After the investigations were done on these kits, and they found that it doesn't trace ancestry. You don't even see these DNA kits no more. And they used to have commercials and everything for these. You don't even see these kits no more. Okay. After those investigations were done on those kits, you don't even hear people talk about these. These things are just little toys to get for Christmas now.
I got you.
Listen, brother. I gotta go because I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good, and I told DeWanda that earlier. But I do want to ask you a question though. Before I go, if possible. And
I'm sorry, Indigo. I didn't mean to call you brother. I didn't know that you were a woman. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just I kind of wanted to ask you, right? So in our story, in my docu-series that I did, right? Um,
which I
there were
posted here.
there were people who were here, right? Who were fighting for Indian civil rights. Who were those Indians? Who were they?
And what time period are you talking about?
Back in '68.
Back in
In,
'68?
in
Yeah.
'68,
Yeah.
civil rights movement. They were
Mhm.
fighting for Indian civil rights.
Uh-huh.
They were fighting for public Indian housing. They were fighting for the Indian Bill of Rights. Who were those people?
The,
Who
Na-
were
Na-
they?
the
Were
Native
those, were
American
those,
Native American tribes. You can go see them uh, at the White House signing the bill, Indian Bill of Rights. It was for people on
yeah,
reservations.
yeah. Those were Negroes there.
No.
And
Those were not Negroes at the White House signing the Indian Bill of Rights. Those were Native Americans at the
so,
White House.
brother, you're talking about two different situations, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely talking about two different situations.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about in '68,
Yeah.
after we tore up after King's death, we
Yes.
tore up over 100 cities in America.
Yes.
Those were not Native Americans there with Lyndon B. Johnson signing those things. Those were Negroes. Now,
The
what
Indian, the
you're
Indians.
what
Go
you're
ahead.
talking about, Rob, what you're talking about when they came, when they created AIM, the American Indian Movement, after our Indian civil rights.
No,
They
I'm talking about
created,
1968. I'm talking about
bro. That's
1968 Indian civil rights. It's. You can go read up on it, brother. It's
no, brother.
it's the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights is the 1968 Indian Civil Rights Act is imposed on tribal governments.
Brother, I can pull up the video. Bro, I just did 12 episodes on this, and I'm showing you these people, the people that there were two different situations.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is the Indian civil rights movement.
Yeah.
The Indian.
Of
I'm not
1968, right?
talking about the American Indian movement.
Okay.
Those are two separate situations.
I think
And
that,
I'm
I think that
telling
we
you,
need to. Yeah, I think that we need to compare sources on that because the American Indian Civil Rights in 1968 that was for tribal governments.
brother, you can go pull up the video right now, and you can see who was there at that signing.
Well, I mean,
You can go pull up brother, a clear
link me
video of
to
who
the
was.
video, right? Link me to the video, but also we need to know what that event was, because right,
So, brother, I can show you two different separate where the Indians were there with their feathers, where the Native Americans was there with their feathers on, with Lyndon B. Johnson. That wasn't ours. That wasn't about us.
Right.
That wasn't about us.
Right.
The Indian civil rights movement was about us. And there was nothing but Negroes there at that signing. You're talking about the signing with Lyndon B. Johnson, where the Native Americans are there with their feathers on and everything. I'm not talking about that, because at the signing for us, there were no Native Americans there. It was strictly Negroes.
Okay. So you're saying that when we go read the government documents on the 1968 Indian civil rights, and it's talking about tribal governments, you're saying it's talking about tribal governments for Negroes?
Well, I'm talking about the signing that happened in '68 after King's death. Now you're talking about a whole nother situation, bro.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe this is something
You're talking about. You're talking about. Listen. So let me show you this. In '68, we had the Indian civil rights movement. And when you look at those pictures, it's nothing but Negroes in those pictures. Niggas. It's niggas. No Native Americans. When you look at the boycott, when you look at everything we was going through in that civil rights movement, there are no Native Americans in that fight.
You're talking about the Civil Rights Act in general.
Hold on. After King was assassinated in '68, after King was assassinated, this is during the Indian Civil Rights Movement, is what I'm telling you. It was nicknamed the Indian Civil Rights Movement. We were fighting for public Indian housing. The Native Americans had already been allowed to vote. They were already on reservations. So this ain't about them. This is about us. This is
Right.
about us fighting for fair housing. The Native Americans are already voting. They're already on reservations. This ain't about them.
Mhm.
This is what we were fighting for. Now, after King was assassinated and that signing went down in 68, the Native Americans came behind us and they created the American Indian movement after us. After us. Now, what they were attempting to do was hijack our civil rights movement after that. That's what they were attempting to do. Dr. King, that in 68, that was our last chance at attaching ourselves to this land as Indians. That was our last chance because you haven't heard about
Let
that.
me ask you a question. Who did Dr. King believe we were?
What do you mean, who did he believe we were? He was leading it. Did he believe we were Africans?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say? He believed we were Africans?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me ask you this then. So King thought we were Africans.
No, he didn't think it. He said it specifically in several speeches.
All right, cool. What does that African benefit fighting for Indians? What did he benefit?
I don't know because I don't know. I can't argue that because I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm asking, you said he was an African.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This is what I'm saying. You said King was an African.
No.
I'm telling you, in 68, he was leading the Indian civil rights movement.
No, he was not. He was leading the civil rights movement. he was leading the civil rights movement.
Dewanda, am I tripping? Am I tripping?
Indian civil rights movement.
No, you're not.
I have a whole docu-series.
No, you ain't tripping.
I have a whole.
I think he just don't want to admit. I don't think he wants to admit it.
Listen. If you show me some data, I mean, because anybody could put together videos, right? But I'm talking about.
I dropped the link right there. Go watch the full docuseries. The link is right there.
Drop it in the private chat.
Brother, you can honestly.
I did.
Go,
I dropped it in. I dropped it in the chat as well, Rob. I got you.
You can yourself go type in the Indian civil rights. Civil rights movement, 1968, and type in what is the nickname for the Indian civil rights movement. It's gonna tell you. It's gonna tell you the Indian civil rights movement. It's going to show you that they were fighting for public Indian housing. What are public Indian housing? It's the projects. It's the projects. It's public Indian housing. These were our people fighting for these things. Coming back from the wars and stuff, bro. We were being discriminated, bro. This is why you clearly hear Lyndon B. Johnson in his speech at the signing. He says, the Negroes no longer have to deal with this humiliation. He didn't say the Native Americans. He didn't say the Africans. He said the Negroes no longer have to deal with this humiliation because it was about us, bro.
So you're telling me that the March on Selma, you're telling me that the bus boycotts, you're telling me everything that Dr. King was involved in for civil rights, that was for Indians and not Negroes.
No, I mean, Negroes were considered. Our people knew who they were Indians, bro. But what I'm telling you is,
Negroes were the Indians.
Right? Remember, brother. Listen, bro. We were reclassified on this land. Africans were not reclassified.
When did the reclassification happen?
Listen, shit, I don't know exactly what year, but listen, this is when Walter Plecker reclassified
1920s, Virginia.
the Indians on this land. Okay. So, yeah, 2024, something like that. Okay, so listen. Who were those Negroes in feathers? Because that's what Walter Plecker called those.
We were talking about people like the Pamunkey Indians, like with Chief George Cook, who objected to be called a Negro.
Okay, that's cool, bro.
Plecker specifically stated that the only reason why he was doing that was because he suspected that these people had African heritage. He said that's what he said.
And that's fine. Listen, and that's fine. What I'm telling you is there were a group of people on this land reclassified as Indian. From Indians to Negroes to colors to blacks. They were reclassified, right? Walter Plecker called those people, those Indians, Negroes in feathers.
Right.
Negroes.
Like the pie monkey. If you go back and look at George Cook, clearly he's not a Negro. Clearly,
so were these Africans that were those Negroes in feathers?
They weren't. They weren't Africans because Plecker's whole point was just to disenfranchise the people so he could get the land.
Then who were they?
They were Indians. They were Indians. But they were Indians. They don't look. They were Indians. Let me be clear. They were Indians, and they don't look like nobody on this panel. Nobody. Because
so who they look like, bro?
Paul Monkey Indians. Paul Monkey Virginia Indians.
What they look like?
Hold on, brother. Remember, our story takes place in the Southeast, East Coast, Northeast, and parts of the Midwest. That's our story of American Indians. That's our story. So in Virginia does run up the East Coast, bro. What did those Indians look like then? Who did they look like? And where did they come from?
In the 1920s, when Walter Plecker, let me say this real quick. When Walter Plecker tried to do that, Chief George Cook responded, "I would sooner throw a stone around my neck and jump in the James River than to be labeled a Negro." Then, hold on. The African American community, the Negro community, the Black American community, whatever you want to call it, responded to him because they feel like it was an insult, and they said, "Well, yeah, we don't want y'all to be reclassified. We don't see y'all the same as us. Stay as your own people." The people that were involved in that process, were there some people who were admixed? Yes, but those Indians were Indians and not Negroes.
Bro, there were no Africans. There were no Africans reclassified on this land. Those people were Indians. Now, what I'm saying to you is our story takes place. The Native American story does not take place over here in the East Coast or in the Southeast.
It does very much so.
No, it doesn't.
It does very much so because when you look at the colonial history, this is what you see. White people came here. The Indians were here. Okay, the Indians were there on the East Coast. They helped them survive, right? And then what happened was they started bringing Africans over. Initially, they were enslaving Indians, right? At some point,
Indians were enslaving Indians.
Okay, but I'm talking specifically about the colonial experiment when the British citizens came over here and started their own colony. Those Indians that they interacted with were not Negroes.
Bro, I'm asking, bro.
This is documented, brother.
I'll tell you what's documented. I'll tell you exactly what's documented. John
Algonquin speaking people, those were Negroes. Lenape Indians, those people were not Negroes at that point in time. In fact, you can look at William Penn, who he described them. He said their skin is dark and black, basically because they put on bear grease to tan from the sun. He said, but their faces look European. They don't have flat noses and thick lips like Negroes or East Indians. He specifically said that about these people. They were not Negroes. They were Indians.
Well, what is an Indian? What is an Indian versus a Negro?
Right.
Two different groups of people. Yeah, two different stock of people.
No such thing as two different groups because
two different stock of people.
Well, that's debatable because we as a people come with different phenotypes.
Fact.
All of us don't have flat noses and big lips.
Fact.
All of us don't have
come on, bro.
hair.
Okay.
All of us do not have the same. In fact, you could put all of us in this panel under this black identity. And as you can see, we all have similar but somewhat different features. You might have an auntie or grandmother with thin lips, thin nose, kinky hair.
Why do we have all of these variations in our features?
Well, first of all, it starts with the land. There were many
we have all these variations of features because we are now an admixed people.
Well, you see, you're speaking for we as a whole when you admit that you don't even know who you are. So how
No,
will you
I
know?
told you that I
You
was
don't
ad
know
mix.
who you are. You can only
I
tell
told
us.
you that I was
You
ad
can
mix.
only tell us who you are.
Trying to bring the argument back to me,
Okay,
but
so
that doesn't make the argument for the fact that the
okay,
people
okay.
on the East Coast were Indians. They were not Negroes.
Cool, bro. That's cool.
And at first they were cool. At first they were cool with Negroes, but then once the colonizers started doing their thing, then they didn't want to associate with them because of that.
Where you get that pseudo history from?
There's no pseudo history, brother. It's all documented.
Listen, Ron. Let me ask you this before I go, because I really got to go, because this medicine is kicking in.
Yeah,
Let me
we're gonna wrap it up after you, Callie, Taino, and we're gonna wrap it up.
Let me just ask this. What at the end of it all right, let's just say I hop in your car, I hop over in your car, and we all hop over in your car, okay? And now we agree with you. We're all African. We all agree with you. We're all African. What's the next move? What happens now? Now that we know we're all African, now what? We all live in America. Now what happens now? Now that we all know we're African.
What happens now has the same thing that's been happening, brother. Either we're gonna work together or we're not.
So my question is, if we're all African,
okay.
It definitely doesn't benefit. I would think this African pride that y'all been pushing down our people's throats forever, it has to work. What I'm saying is, how does it work for us here in America?
Okay.
What is our next step?
Okay.
Now that we're all African, what do we all do now?
I'm happy to have that conversation, but it was just like I was saying earlier. You're talking about a social conversation, a socio-political conversation versus genetic heritage or heritage. That doesn't, whether if you don't agree, if you don't identify as having African heritage or not, that still does not change the social implications for us here.
So
we
that
got to
means
decide to work together or not.
So there is no plan, is what you're telling me.
No,
this is just some cool woke shit to say. Basically, there is no plan. Once we all decide.
Let me say this real quick, because I think that this is really the problem, right? The problem really is we want an identity to bind us together, all right? And you want to argue about if we're African or not. Is that really going to benefit us right now? No. I'm saying that conversation is not going to benefit us other than just for us to intellectually say this is the history of people, this is what happened, right? If people have Indian heritage, if you have Indian heritage and your people was a part of the people that Walter Plecker disenfranchised, you should go fight. You should go trace your lineage to those Indian people, and you should go fight.
No. So my point is, those of us who are claiming to be American Indian, we do have a fight here on this land.
Okay.
We actually do have a fight here.
I have nothing against you trying to cut your
my question is, y'all been pushing this, we all come from Africa, there's Africa stuff down our throat. What if I say, okay, we're all Africans, now what? How does this benefit us? Now that we know we're all from Africa, what's our next step? Now that we know we're African, what do we do? Because remember, Africa is what? 50 plus countries, and don't all of them countries get along?
They don't.
So now what do we do? What's our next step? Or is this just some cool woke shit to say? You know what I'm saying? That we all come from Africa, you're African. When I'm clearly telling you I'm not African. So what's our next step as an African in America, an African in America?
This is what I'm going to say. Our next step.
We go to Africa?
As whatever you want to call us in America. No, I don't think so. Our next step is whatever you want to call us in America is we got to mobilize as a people. How do you mobilize? You got to understand how the political game goes. How does the political game goes? Is ran by money. You got to put your money in the right place, have people political action communities do the things that you want to do to benefit your community. That's what everybody else does.
I'm not
Whether
understanding.
you're calling yourself African or Indian, you're going to have to do that regardless.
We know what our fight is. I agree. We know what our fight is here in America as American Indians. But you're saying you're African. What does your fight benefit?
That's not what I'm saying, brother. I said I'm African descendant.
asking you a question, Rob. He's just
Yeah,
asking you a question.
yeah.
Hey, look, the live is going to end in like 5 seconds, y'all.
Okay.
I
All right,
ran
we
over
got
time,
that.
so just I'm sorry. It's going to
Stay
end.
up, stay up, stay up with me. Stay up with me, Callie. We can conversate, brother.
It's
I
all
want to
good.
read one more thing. I want to read one thing before we end. And I want
Oh, we're
Rob to
still going. My
listen.
bad.
Yeah. I want Rob to listen real good because his whole perspective of American history is that of indoctrination.
No.
Yeah, because you want to debate somebody else's history based off of what you don't know about yourself,
No.
and you want to put us all in this bubble. I'm gonna read something to you. I'm gonna
Not
read
at
it
all.
real good so you can listen. And it's by a guy by the name of Carlos Cuervo Marquez.
Oh man, don't do it. Don't do this, brother. Don't do it.
No,
Don't
I'm
do
doing it because
All right.
we
I got
have all the we got the artifacts to prove it. We got
there
the
are none.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're old statues of Negro people to
Yeah.
prove this. I posted on my page.
It was not based on any skeletons. It was based on pure conjecture. What he said.
No, ain't no conjecture. Stop trying to gaslight me
No, it's
and
true.
listen.
It's true. I read it. I read it.
Nope. It says this, and this is a fact because we've seen all those murals in Mexico. We've seen all those Negro skulls and artifacts found in mounds in the Americas. That's something you can never refute or dispute. You understand? If you want to refute and dispute it, you're just being plain ignorant. All right? So you explain to me what all these Negroid monuments doing around the Americas, huh?
I think we
Is
just
it
talked.
by a coincidence?
I think we just talked about that.
Yeah, but those are actual artifacts. You cannot say they're anything else but Negroid.
I'm not.
And his
I'm
word.
not disputing that they're Negroid.
Yeah, you are.
No,
you are because you're arguing.
I never disputed that they were Negroid. I'm saying that that's not proof that you're connected to them because of their features.
Well, how would you know? You don't even know who you connected to.
Okay, well then you want to bring it back to a personal conversation. What I'm saying, I said that's not proof that you're connected to them. I just said you were.
Well, why would I have to prove something to you when you prove to me that you don't know who you are? So what gave you the authority to tell me to prove something to you that you can't prove to your own self?
I'm not speaking on any authority other than we're talking about the data. You mentioned Marquez. I'm talking about that's what we're talking about. I read his statement. He admitted that it's conjecture because he said that this is what he heard from other people. He looked at statues and that's what he said. Oh, this must be true, right? But what I'm saying to you,
what statues did he look at?
Is I never disputed that there were Negroid people in South America. I sat up here and specifically said that there were Negroid people in South America. I specifically
throughout the Americas, not just South America. They have found Negroid skeletons in the Virgin Islands, where I grew up. They have found them on different islands. They found them in Mexico. They have found them in North America.
And what I'm saying to you is that Negroid and Negro are not the same thing. I'm telling you, just like they categorize Papua New Guineans as Negroid, having Negroid skeletons, but they are related to people that South Asians, right? Just like they would categorize you as a Negroid skeleton. It's about skull morphology. It's about skull shape. It's not about hair. It's not about being closely related to anybody.
You cannot separate.
Yeah.
You cannot separate Negroid skulls from Negro-like people.
You can 100%. You 100% can, because you got people. You got people up in Wales who are dolichocephalic with long heads, but they're white, clearly white people. I'm talking about anthropology. These are anthropological terms. These are not social constructs like when we talk about Negro. It's totally different.
It amazes me how we can be so intelligent when it comes, and be so deep in about a bunch of other stuff, and we can't even be deep about our own families. We can't even dig into that's very interesting to me. We know everything about everything else.
In Europe,
when it comes to our families, when it comes to our bloodlines, and then where your people actually come from, we don't know nothing. Like, that's very interesting to me. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to enter. We got to wrap it up tonight. But Callie, I like how you ended on that note about the family, because I thought about something the other day, and I think I asked my mother and my sister this. when it comes to slavery, and again, this is all everything that we talked about tonight was on topic because it has to be talked about, like where we come from.
Yeah.
All these admixtures and well, we're not going to listen to what our grandmothers say. We're just going to bypass this information and we're not going to take this information. But when we have logical truth and we're using our minds to look at things, as it is in front of us, we refute information. So, this question might be like it might be too simple. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but in slavery times, again, we talk about these are slaves being coming from Africa, being enslaved to the Americas, right?
Mm-hmm.
How come none of our grandparents, great grandparents, and relatives, they said anything about Native Americans, these Native Americans enslaving them? We always heard that the white man had enslaved them and did this and did that. I never heard anybody say, well, the chinky-eyed man, they're the ones that was doing this to our people. It was never that. It was always the white man.
And let me say this real quick. The Native Americans aren't even the original Native Americans of this land. The Native Americans that y'all talk about are not even the original Native Americans of this land. The original Native Americans of this land were white people. They were white people. They were a political party. They did not like foreigners. They didn't even like foreigners. They had no problem with us Negroes who were already here. They made money with us Negroes. They didn't like foreigners. They hated foreigners. So that was the original Native Americans here on this land, the Know Nothing Party. So I just wanted to throw that in there as you were speaking about that.
Yeah, no, it's we're gonna go ahead and close time. I want to say thank you and Robert and Callie and everybody that came on and tonight. I'm going to end. We've been 3 hours in. I'm going to end with the video that I started with. I'm going to start it from the beginning because Eli said he never had a chance to watch it. So I think this kind of sums up a lot of things for me in the video that I put together. I just can't buy into the theory that we all come from Africa, especially when as Callie would always say, our people told us different.
Yeah, it's 2024, man. Come on, man.
Yeah. And we've seen tonight, I put up a comment earlier, I can't remember who it was, but she went all the way back to the 1500s, and she has there's no slavery, no white people in her family, none whatsoever.
I have no.
How does she know there's no white people in the family? I'm trying to.
She did her genealogy. Right. She didn't spit in the tube.
You do your genealogy like that. When you go back.
Genealogy. She went through paperwork.
Right.
She went through records.
Right, but what I'm saying is when you go back.
That's what she did.
When you go back, they don't have any races on in the genealogy. They don't say this person's white, black, or Indian. So I mean, how does she know who those people
were? They had 3 categories. They had white.
There's records and stuff that you can pull up.
Going back to the 1500s.
Exactly.
Going back to 1500s, whether somebody was white, black, or Indian.
Basically, you're saying that because there's no records that go that far back, then how do we have records that a Clotilda even existed? How do we have records that all that this stuff even existed?
Get what I'm saying right. Get what I'm saying.
You can't tell that woman that she's not tracing her lineage
back.
I'm
not saying it. I'm asking a question. I'm saying, how does she know who those people were other than just to see them in the genealogical record?
Here she go. I'm going to put her comment up. Put her comment up. She just responded. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
And that's a thing right there. This is what DNA can't show you is records. DNA won't show you records and things, stories of your own family. When DNA is not going to show.
What I'm asking, hold on a second. But what I'm asking, I 100% agree. I work on my genealogy all the time, right? I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that you going back that far. It's not talking about whether how do you know these people were Europeans or Indians?
It depends on what you're looking at, bro. If we're looking at records, it depends on what you're looking at, bro.
It does depend on what you're looking at. And what I'm saying to you, if you go back to the 1500s, if you go back 5 generations, right? If you go back 5 generations, you got 32. You got that's your fourth grandparents. You got I'm sorry, third grandparents. You got 32 of them. You know all 32 of them.
Yeah,
You got all 32. You know all 32 of them, huh? And who they were, where they came from. I seriously doubt that.
But you can't prove that she didn't. I mean, you can doubt it all you want, but doesn't mean that.
Also, what I'm saying is, in records, if you got records from the 1500s, that's amazing because where do you got that come from? The Spanish? Because the Europeans weren't doing heavy colonization activities here on the East Coast. So at that point, it was just the Spanish who were here, and they were operating.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. About 15, 20 minutes ago, you said that, we're early on in the show. You said that you're not that type of dude that would say that if people say who they are, you said that you would never refute somebody.
Get what I'm saying. Get what I'm saying.
Now you're refuting what this woman is saying.
Get what I'm saying.
Now you're refuting that.
I'm not refuting anything. I'm adding historical context to this question.
You're refuting her information.
The sister said that she has records going back to the 1500s.
There should be no questions. You should be like, oh, okay, damn. Show me how I do. Show me how to get that. Show me how to do this so I can know where I come from. You're refuting her information. You're not trying to get the information from her so you can gather the same knowledge and move forward. You're refuting her shit. Like, look what you said.
I'm saying
no, you're not. You're refuting her shit.
Exactly what I just said.
It.
Rewind the video and see what I'm saying. I'm asking, where did they come from? Because they couldn't have come from the East Coast because the operations weren't set up there. I'm saying,
so you know that?
That's a lie. That is a lie.
It's a lie?
How do you know that?
In the 1500s?
Yes. This place always had people from the East Coast all the way down. It was not an empty, barren land. So how are you going to tell me there was no one
this
there?
person saying they have records that go back to the 1500s. Let's clarify what I'm saying here. I'm saying what's the origin of those records?
I can't tell you what somebody else's genealogy is.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying because we know that the Europeans didn't have heavy operations on the East Coast in the 1500s. So where are those records coming from? That's what I'm saying. The only records at that point in the 1500s could have been Spanish, but they started in 1492. That was down in South America.
You said could have been, but you're not. But you're not.
Well,
not 100% sure.
Where are these documents coming from at that point in time?
You said could have been, so that means you're not 100% sure, right?
No, I don't know. I'm asking a question. I'm generally asking.
And I get that you're asking the question, and my question to you is, since you're not sure, you can't. Your tone and your stance is definitely saying, I disbelieve what she's saying.
I don't believe.
That's your tone and your stance.
I don't disbelieve that. That's not what I'm asking. What's the source of these records?
Well, we have to ask her that because I don't know. All I'm saying is this woman's
and anybody who is knowledgeable about genealogy, where would the source of those records be from the 1500s?
Again, we have to ask her that. If she want to give her information out, that's cool.
What you say, brother?
I'm going to. I have no reason to ask any. I have no reason to ask questions. Like, well, where'd you get all this stuff from?
Right.
Go sit with like she said. Go sit with a genealogist, and you can ask the genealogist all these types of questions.
And I agree. And this is the thing I'm saying, because people keep saying you say you come from Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I say I have a bloodline from Africa, just like I have a bloodline from Europe. That's what I'm saying. And so when people say that,
you said everybody come from Africa is what you said. You said everybody come from Africa.
I didn't say that.
Where does your bloodline come from in Africa?
Huh?
Where does your bloodline come from in Africa?
Okay, first and foremost, how would I know, brother? That's my point that I'm getting to. If you go back to
I got a bloodline in Africa.
Hold on one second. What I'm saying is if you go back to the 1500s. Now, I'm not saying that records don't exist, just like the brother Tyler Fury said, that the Spanish had records. What I'm saying, though, to you is how would I know?
I don't know. You just said that. I didn't say it.
Okay. Just like people are claiming they don't have any African heritage, how would you know?
So, brother,
all of your records from all of your grandparents that go back 32 grandparents back 5 generations ago.
So basically, we're going back to what we can prove. What we can prove.
No,
we're not going to. No, bro. No. I asked you about your family. I
Yeah,
asked you about your family. You
yeah, no,
said
no.
you cannot
Okay.
go back to as
I'm
far
not
as you
disagreeing
can
with what you're
prove
saying. I'm
who
not
have
disagreeing what you're saying. Going back to what you can prove, I'm not disagreeing what you're saying about that.
You said no as soon as he said that
No,
though.
no, no, no,
You
no.
said no. You
I'm
said
saying
that
no,
like
as in
you
that's
said
not
that.
what I'm not disagreeing with. That is what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's based on
Why
what you
would you
can
start?
prove.
Why would you start with no? Why would you start with no? I mean, like
Because
when
I
somebody
thought he
starts
was
saying
saying.
something
I
and
thought
somebody
he
shake
was.
their
I
head,
thought he
it
was
means
saying
they're
that.
against what they're saying.
Yes, I thought
You
he
got to
was
remember, body
saying.
language speaks a lot, Rob. Body language talks a lot.
I'm saying that I thought he was saying that I was trying to insinuate that it's not about what you can prove, and that's not what I'm saying.
I just heard you just all I'm saying, bro, is I just heard you say out of your own mouth, you said you have a bloodline
Right,
from Africa. And
right.
I asked you, who is your bloodline? Where
I
does
don't.
it go
I
to?
don't know. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know these people.
what makes you think you have a bloodline that goes back to Africa then?
What makes me think?
Exactly.
Okay. What
Yes.
makes me
And
think?
you said
Okay.
you just said you didn't know.
I'm gonna tell you
This
why.
would answer Bella's question.
I'm
So
gonna tell you. Right. I'm gonna tell
Rob,
you what makes me think that.
Rob, that
Okay.
way, Rob. So that way, I want you to answer. I want you to answer Bella's questions as well because
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
What makes me think I have a bloodline from Africa? What makes me think that is because two things. First and foremost, we know the people who were involved in this colonial activity. Okay. Indians were not Negroes. That's the bottom line. People start with that assumption. There's two Indians and Negroes are two different people. Okay, that's the bottom line.
No, no,
They were never confused until the
no, bro.
colonists wanted to create a hierarchy. That's the
No,
first. That's the first start. Then
I
what
can
I
just
know.
prove
Then
that
we
point
also
right
know
now.
that the third player was Europeans in this colonial experiment. That's what we know for 100%
let me
fact.
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. When you use the term nigger, when it refers to this land of America, I'm not talking about Africa, I'm not talking about Australia, I'm not talking about no other land. When you use the term, when you look up the term in the Oxford Dictionary for the word nigger, who does it refer to? Section 3.
Hold on. So you're
Section
saying
3.
so we're using a derogatory term to prove identity?
I'm asking you a question.
Just answer
Who
the
does
question.
That's what I'm
who
saying.
does when the
I know the answer. I know it's in that dictionary says American Indian. So you're saying that proves that we are American Indians because they call the American Indians N word too.
I'm just
Who
telling
else
you
is
it was
called that
nigger.
word?
Who else is called the word?
They call people all over it. They
Just
call
I mean,
people
like
saying
common
N
sense.
words. They call people.
I said
Yeah,
when it comes to this
I
land,
know. I know exactly.
I didn't ask about nobody
I
else.
know
I
exactly
said
what
this
you're talking about.
land.
Uh-huh.
I said this land.
Right. This land. This
Who
land.
was they talking about?
This land. Let me say this real quick. Do you know the date of that dictionary entry?
Bro, Joseph, it doesn't
I'm asking a
matter.
question if you know, because if we
Who
want to
was
use
they talking
dictionary, we
about,
want
bro?
to use I don't operate. Okay, just like we were talking about the word Negro, that's a
Come
construct.
on,
That's not an argument.
man.
The word Negro but what I'm saying is when you talk about
I
when
just
you talk
asked you
about
who it
colonial
referred to on this land.
activities, with Europeans and other people, we know the major players involved. They were Indians, they were Africans, and they were Europeans.
I just asked you.
Indians were not Negroes unless
Indians
Europeans
were
decided to
Negroes.
group them into the context. But then they decided also that they say we shouldn't be calling these people Negroes because they're not the same people.
What
Who told you that?
who does the word nigger refer to though in Callie's question?
I'm not going to use a derogatory term
I
to
didn't
get
ask you.
my
No, 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 no,
identity.
no, 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 no,
Is this
no,
what y'all
no,
trying
no.
to
Stop.
do?
Chill.
Don't
I
avoid
didn't ask you.
answering that.
That's exactly
I didn't ask you
what
anything.
that's
Nope.
what you're trying to
Nope.
do.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Rob. Nope.
I know what you're talking
Did
about.
I ask
It
you to
refers
use
to
a
American
derogatory
Indian.
term?
It refers to
Rob,
American Indian.
did I ask you to use a derogatory term? Did
That's
I
what
ask you to use a
the
derogatory
brother
term? Yes
Kylie
or
is
no?
asking me is if who are they
No, I'm
referring
not.
to, and
I'm
he's
not asking.
making that
No,
as
no,
an
no. I
argument
said,
for
did I?
identity.
I
No,
said, did I ask you that? Did
no,
I ask you that?
no.
Okay, so my question to you is, who does that word refer to in America?
So in American
What group of
Indians,
people does that word
American
refer to?
Indians, American Indians,
Which is who?
not us.
We can answer
So
us.
I can go to I can go
Not
I know
us.
a few names. Now hold on, Callie. Hold on, because now he playing stupid.
No, I'm
Now
not.
he being
I'm not.
stupid. No,
Because
yes you are. Now you being
let me
stupid.
tell you
Now,
what's
now you being
let me
real
tell you what's
dumb
gonna happen.
because now you don't want to look like an ass
Y'all want
in
to use
front of people.
dictionary entries,
You don't want to
but
be
then
truthful.
if I
You
go to the if I
disingenuous.
go
You're not
I'm
being
telling you why.
honest. We ask you we
why this
ask
is
we ask
weird?
you simple
Because if I
questions,
go to the same
logical questions.
dictionary
You
and I
of
look up the
all
word
people know
Negro, what is
when
it
you
gonna
get
say?
pulled over by a cop
Callie,
and you a racist cop, the first thing they gonna think is call you a
Callie,
nigga. They never have called no Native American
ask
no
Callie.
niggas. You
If I go
knew
to the
that,
same
Rob. Don't
dictionary
play
in that
dumb.
same year
Don't
and I
play
look up the
dumb. You're
word
playing
Negro,
dumb and
what
for
is it
no
gonna say?
reason. We're too old for this. We're
No.
too
Too
old
old.
for this, Rob. Come on. Be
Okay.
I want to
truthful
ask him
and
a
be
question.
honest.
That's anecdotal. That's not an argument. That's
I
anecdotal.
want to ask Rob a question.
That is not a
You know it's
scientific
not. You
argument.
know
That's an
that. Come
anecdote.
on, man. This show is called We Call Bullshit for a reason. And I'm
Well,
calling your bullshit because it's
if
bullshit.
what I'm saying
You
is
know we're the
bullshit,
only
then
group of people
how come
that
you wouldn't go to the
call that
same
word.
year
Do Native
in the same
Americans
year
rap?
and
Do
look
they
at the
use
word
that in rap
Negro and
songs
see
at
we're talking
all?
about Africans and admit that?
What rappers use that in the songs? What R&B artists use that in the songs?
That's an
It ain't Native
anecdote.
Americans. That
That's
ain't played in their music.
that is an anecdote.
That's played in black culture music in the
Okay.
Americas.
Okay.
You know this.
That's not an argument.
I
I'm
gotta
sorry.
call BS on you, man. I
I'm
got
sorry,
to.
y'all. That's not an argument. Because in
I didn't.
the same
No,
dictionary, the
the
same
argument is
year,
that you're being
if you go
disingenuous
to the
because
word
you
if you
won't
go
answer
to
the
the word
question. You're
Negro,
being disingenuous with the question.
no, I'm
What
not.
group of people does that word refer to in the Americas?
We just admitted that it was
No.
American English, right?
What group of people does that refer to in the Americas?
Right. We
I want
just
you to be
admitted.
truthful and honest.
We just
Be
admitted
truthful and honest.
in the dictionary. They said they under the dictionary
No,
it's
I didn't
American
ask you
English.
about the dictionary. I'm asking you,
Oh,
what group of people does that word refer to now in the Americas? That's
we're
what I'm
talking
asking
about
you.
so-called Black Americans. We know that.
Okay.
We know that. But that's
So
anecdotal.
you just proved everything that the dictionary said.
No, I didn't. No,
You
Hey,
because
just proved everything the
that
dictionary
same
said.
dictionary says that Negroes are African. So I mean, which
hey,
you
yo,
you want to use
What question,
dictionary
Bella?
as
Bella,
identity,
what question?
right?
I
What
gotta
question did he
go.
ask that I
I
didn't
gotta
answer?
jump off of here.
Yeah.
I gotta go, man. Hey, man, it was great talking to y'all, man. But
Yeah,
this
me do
medicine
too.
thing,
I enjoyed it,
Take
Rob. I
care.
appreciate you.
Take
Taino,
care,
I
y'all.
appreciate you.
Take
Callie,
care,
I appreciate
brother.
you. Everybody that came on tonight. I appreciate you. We just like I said earlier, we call BS, we call stuff on just not stuff like this, but religion. So you may see some posts about religion. You may see some posts about the laws being taken place
Right.
and you know that affect us with the migrants and all that stuff. So it's just not just this particular topic. I had a friend of mine, Kevin. I think you may remember him in the group too, Rob. I'm not sure, but he was supposed to come on because somebody I know personally, he and I go back and forth about this, but that was the whole point of
Yeah.
doing this whole live. And I appreciate you standing 10 toes down.
Absolutely.
You know, I really, really appreciate you for that. Taino, thank you so much. Hope to have both you guys back at a later date, later time, and maybe we can revisit some stuff or whatever have you.
Can you
It's been
send me
fun.
that? Can you
I'm
send
gonna end with this video.
Yeah.
Huh?
Can you send me that link. I want to make sure because I still don't see the link to Chris's stuff. I'm
To
sorry,
who?
Callie, Chief Callie.
It's in there, but I'll drop it again.
Please.
I'll
All
drop
right.
it again before the live end. I'll do it in a few seconds, and
All right.
just prepping this video. Taino, you want to give us a few words?
Yeah, I just want people to know that as far as us being in Americas, we have to learn to stop trying to disconnect ourselves from the land because everyone that's coming here into the Americas are trying to connect themselves and take our place, you know. And I keep seeing it, like I see Africans sell all the farmland, all of that, just to raise the money to come over here to be American. And their kids and kids on are going to be Americans. They train them to say, you are now American. But why is it the original Americans, the ones who can trace the lineage before the founding of the United States or any of the colonial powers, why is it that we have to be refuted and disputed, but everybody else who comes way after somehow gets to say whoever they are and keep that label? but we're supposed to change who we are every decade to be somebody else. Even with proof, I just want people to know, like, hey, even though I understand this is what you believe, don't try to argue with someone that knows who they are, who has an idea of who they are, where they come from, and where they're going. You know, my whole purpose here in the Americas is to be pro-American. I cannot be pro-Africa, pro anybody else. I can have sympathy for what's going on in other countries, but we got to put us first, because everyone is coming here taking away from everyone within the Americas, and they're putting in their pockets and sending back to their countries. They're not putting back into our community. You understand? So if we were to come together as a whole, we have to look out for our motherland, our land we was born in, our ancestors was born in, bled, died, built this country. We got to look out for us first. We got to be more pro-American, less anti-American, because it's anti-American to say, oh, I'm going to do for this country, I'm going to do for that country, but your own background where your ancestors bled, shed tears, prayed, worship, the whole nine. We're going to just give it up to be a foreigner in our own land. You know, be you. You know, be a proud American. Even if anyone feel like they want to argue with you about your heritage, hey, you know who you are. You know, you don't have to prove yourself to no one. You know, this is our birthright, you know, and we are bound to these lands by heritage. Not by immigration, but by heritage. So I want us to always remember that. And that's all I got to say.
I smell bullshit, don't know what to call it other than bullshit. Blows my mind, blows my mind.
Everything we've been taught in the American education system is all a lie. Yes, Native Americans weren't the original people of this land. We actually took it from black people. We were so good at it that we just wiped out any trace of their language and their culture.
Join us live tomorrow night, 8 p.m., YouTube and Facebook. Promise you don't want to miss this.
They call black people who were born and raised for generations in this country. If you accept the handle of African American, that says that you don't accept being an American American. You don't accept being born in Chicago, or New York, or Detroit, or wherever you were born. For generations, your family has been here, you know. Built this country too. Sweat and tears and all that, you know. Fought in every war, okay? So this is my country here. So I don't want to be called African American. I'm an American American. My people have died and done everything for this country.
But have you guys ever heard the theory that, like, a lot of people think that, like, Native people in America were descendants from Asia and they crossed the Bering Strait, and that's way of Native. But they think that it could have happened the other way around, that the beginning of civilization probably happened in America with Native, and they came across and then they got all ching-chongy.
No.
Our Story, 1968, Indian Civil Rights, is an informative docuseries created with the intent to shine a spotlight and also help educate and enlighten those who have an interest in exploring with an open mind, possibly more or even new information that concerns the reclassified American Indians of North America.
Slaves were brought over here on the slave ships. Just not true.
Let me explain. The current American education states African Americans were brought to America as slaves from Africa, which is simply not true.
But
we wouldn't know that because we in America. So we think in America, the whole world think like America. They don't. Black and white people exist in America. It's crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? That's why I'm over Africa. Y'all look at me funny. Like, nigga, I'm African. Like, you're not though. Like, you're not.
You just want to claim a spot for the whole thing. Africa is not our home. Let me let that hang in the atmosphere for a while.
This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.